They say two things come from Texas: steers and getting close to the wall with the right rears after getting loose on Texas Motor Speedway's brand new configuration, which will put NORC's Season 13 chase field through the ringer this evening. A flatter, wider turns 1 and 2 feeds drivers into the narrow, still highly banked turns 3 and 4, lap after lap after lap. And as the Texas sun beats down onto the asphalt, one thing is for sure: track position will be key. Who can capitalize and who falls this evening? Keep watching to find out. NORC is live on Pit Stop TV. Welcome to the virtual Fort Worth, Texas. Eric Brennan and Emerson Arden alongside on the mic this evening. Trey Shuttlesworth on our social media duties. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV, and welcome to this evening's Pit Stop TV coverage of the NORC iRacing Series. Just one caution: 1 week ago at Indianapolis, set up for a strategy game that puts last week's race on the top shelf of NORC Classics. But this evening is set to hold a completely different kind of race. As we've seen in recent years, Eric, Texas' new configuration puts drivers in all kinds of awkward scenarios, often forcing everyone to fight for the bottom on restarts before funneling back down to the high bank turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, and you mentioned the fact that this track has undergone a number of overhauls and changes recently as of late. The biggest one here, the fact that you see it is not a symmetrical oval as far as banking. In shape it is, of course, but turns 1 and 2 is a little bit flatter. And keep in mind, you're carrying a lot of speed off of turn 4 and through that dogleg before you have to try to get the car to set. And you don't have that extra 4 degrees of banking to lean on that you do in turns 3 and 4. This track, in a real-world sense, has earned a reputation as being tough, oftentimes a little bit tricky and difficult, but we've seen NORC put on races on difficult tracks, like you just mentioned. 1 week ago in Indianapolis to kick off their chase. Back at Dover, we only had 2 cautions. I'm not sure what type of race we're going to see here today. I feel like every time I expect for it to be a yellow fever, these guys go ahead and gals go ahead and impress us throughout the night, and today may be no different, Emerson, but this place is tough.
The lap record here in 2001 set by Paul Tracy in a kart, kind of Indy car. We'll just leave it there. The iRacing NXS, or NASCAR Xfinity Series, if you're following along, their record here on iRacing is a 29.079 set by Derek Justice. Emerson, that is blindingly quick, and that is right there with the NORC qualifying record here. You've got to go way back to Season 1. And actually, Derek's record is only 2 1/1000ths of a second off of Marcus Richardson's fast time back in, Season 3, actually, for the qualifying record. The Season 1 race record was set by Marcus Richardson as well, though. 2 completely different seasons, still the same cream rising to the top, and that's going to be a narrative that we follow along with throughout the course of the day. If you go back through NORC's history here on the iRacing.com sim, Emerson, and you look back through all of the different Texas Motor Speedway race winners and see how they correlate to the championship, only once has the Texas race winner that season gone on to win the title. That was Season 9. Femi Olot led 65 laps after starting 10th to win here, and then went on to win the championship. Otherwise, never has a Texas race winner gone on to win the championship. While Daniel Falkingham has gotten used to beating those odds, Emerson, those are pretty tough odds to beat this evening.
Yeah, I mean, only once in the times we've come here to Texas Motor Speedway. And that I find that so wild, because you think of Texas, especially the legacy version, it's about as cookie cutter of a mile and a half as you can get. Now, with this new version of Texas, maybe that can break as well. But we take a look at the points standings here, and Falkingham already has 7 wins on this season. If he were to get his 8th tonight, and if that were to follow through, I mean, I don't know what you could say about a season like that. Zoltan Herczeg, though, a driver we always tend to watch for a mile and a halves. Of course, when we go with long green flag runs, Zoltan Herczeg, the driver known for his tire conservation, 27 points back with his 4 wins on the season. John Derry with the great run in Indianapolis up to 3rd. Jared Darling 4th. Brett Pancari up to 5th in the playoff standings. David Schutt, Sean Williams, Chad Oxendine, Cody Miller, and Zach Lindgren in the top 10.
And speaking on the point of Zoltan Herczeg, he may come in 27 points back, but that's something he can't overcome. It's going to be tough, certainly, but he can still get up there and battle Falkingham for a championship, and this would be a great place to start that kind of championship run. And he may have to go against all odds at this point. He's going to have to win tonight and probably win next week at Bristol Dirt to even start to get close in the back 4 races. He comes in this evening, as you can see, 27 points back, Eric. But he is the most recent winner in the field this evening. We don't have Justin Lisenby in the field. We do have Femi Olot, multi-time winner, in fact, 3-time winner here at Texas. But the most recent winner in the field is going to be Zoltan Herczeg. So if anybody's going to get it done and start to cut into that championship lead, it's going to have to be the driver of the 96. That said, we are on notice with guys like John Barry and Jared Darling after last week at Indianapolis.
I think the key word that we're going to be talking about a lot tonight, not just in a racing sense, but in an attitude sense, is momentum. And Daniel Falkingham has a lot of it. In fact, he's had it since the second race of the season. He's won 3 of the last 4 races. I tip our cap to those in our graphics department for finding more places to put the win asterisk next to his name, because we're starting to run out of space here, because he has just been on a hot streak that refuses to cool off. You mentioned John Berry. He got up there and finished second at Indy last week, thought maybe he was on the perfect strategy until Falkingham blitzed him on the fresher tires. And Berry was very honest. He's elated about the result, but he knows he's got to beat that 20 car. And the rest of the field has that same agenda. And the other thing we have to keep an eye on, which I don't think was a storyline that we really had a pulse on going into Indy, is some of the outliers. People who are not battling for the championship, finding their way up into the mix, like TCB did with a 3rd place finish, Ariati with a 4th place finish. There were a lot of names up in the mix for a victory with nothing to lose, and I expect that trend to continue here tonight in Texas as well.
And there's certainly a lot of drivers to watch for that are not in our top 12, our chase field. You can see these are the chase standings after 1 of 7, but you also see the yellow number, yellow positions, yellow point totals. Those are guys that are outside the chase, still battling for championship positions, albeit not for the championship. They can still raise up to 13th, Emerson. And we saw the charge that drivers like Terrell Baker and Hayes Booth were putting on last week, even Ariati. They were all running up front, and they're all looking to at least catch, if not also pass, Sheldon Lockey and get up into that 13th spot. If they can't win the championship, if they can't battle for a championship, 13th becomes the next best. You also have to look throughout the chase field and consider that this is a straight-up chase for the championship. There's no playoff format to this. It's just we're taking 12 drivers, and they've been reset with a few bonuses, obviously, for the regular season. And it's going to be increasingly difficult. We're going to start talking about guys in the coming weeks, of course. We're going to start talking about guys that no longer have an opportunity, that are in this chase field to win the championship, but are still going to go after some serious big moves. And I think strategy moves certainly more often than not to try and win any races they can. Even if they aren't battling for a championship at that point, they can still get some pretty good points positions, and they can still move quite a ways through the field. I mean, you look how far back some of these guys are that are in the top 5, for example. Jared Darling kicks off a string of drivers that are only 7 points apart. That's 5 positions within 7 points, and they're all 44 points or more back of the leader. So there's a lot to watch for, a lot of dynamics, a lot of battles to watch for within these chase standings. And we then turn to the tracks that we're looking forward to for the rest of the season. Texas this evening, Bristol Dirt in a week, then Darlington, Phoenix, Chicagoland, and Las Vegas. Very, very different racetracks. We got the 1.5 mile here, which will set up a little bit for Chicagoland and Las Vegas, but otherwise, the next 3 races after this evening are all completely different.
Absolutely, and that was kind of my point as well with, the Texas race winner not usually going on to win the title, with the last 2 races of the season being those tracks. Now, of course, it's going to depend on what the point situation looks like after leaving Bristol Dirt, which, as much skill as it takes there, it's an absolute wild card. We're going to put these drivers, some of them out of their own element in these Xfinity Series cars that haven't really seen dirt in the real life side of things. That's going to be an absolute blast to watch and call that one. Darlington as well, right up against the wall in these Xfinity Series cars. I think Darlington and the Xfinity car is one of the best car track combos on iRacing, and it's going to be a great show with this caliber of drivers. And then the flat jewel in the desert at Phoenix, I mean, we have such a diverse schedule in these playoffs. We started with Indianapolis, and again, like I said prior, if you went through the regular season and that wasn't as much of a gauntlet to you, these 7 races, I think they definitely are the gauntlet of NASCAR racing.
Certainly a lot to look out for within the standings and within the rest of the schedule here. A lot to keep your eyes out for. You can follow along, obviously, with our broadcasts here on our Pit Stop TV platforms, or all of the NORC broadcasts that do get simulcasted over to the NORC YouTube channel, and, of course, our social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That'll wrap up the pre-race. We've still got a lot more coming up this evening, though. Of course, qualifying on the way. It's getting underway now, so we'll come back in just a moment with qualifying coverage. But for the moment, enjoy a couple of messages from our partners at Pit Stop TV.
Sound Art introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of 2 products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. Sound Art ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Welcome back to the virtual Texas Motor Speedway in the virtual Fort Worth, Texas. You can see qualifying underway and drivers already taking to the flat banks in 1 and 2, or the higher banks in 3 and 4. Of course, the first time we're running here on this new configuration of the Texas Motor Speedway in the NORC iRacing Series. Qualifying, well, currently being led by this guy, Will Klein, who's now in the pit lane, not running anymore. There's Howie Briss, who goes second. And how about Zach Lindgren up to third in the timing charts, fresh off of his first wheel-to-wheel racing in real life down at the Carolina Motorsports Park with the Lucky Dog Racing League and HMS Motorsport. Do want to give a quick tip of the cap to this guy for getting into a real car, a BMW E30 in fact, and getting out there and getting some real-world racing experience. It's helping him, it seems, as he's still top 5 on the speed charts. And Eric, we're getting everybody up to speed very quickly. The first time we've been here on this configuration for NORC, but these guys are no slouches.
And that's one of the things that Parker Kligerman would always tout as far as the benefits of sim racing in this platform, is that it is a narrower or less of a burden as far as barrier to entry into the sport. And that's one of the things that a lot of these drivers are trying to do with their respective racing careers. Start out here, have some fun, and hopefully move on to bigger and better things. Speaking of moving on, how about Terrell Baker? TCB, while no surprise, Daniel Falkingham goes to the top of the charts, but TCB has been on a bit of a charge as of late. We mentioned the podium finish he had last week. He's currently 6th, just got bumped down out of the top 5. We'll see if he can improve it here on lap 2 as he comes off at turn number 4 and will try to climb back up into the top 5 while Falkingham holds a stranglehold over the field. That was close off at turn 4. And Baker will come to the line, and even though he kept his foot in it, is going to remain 6th for now while Herczeg is on the clock.
Zoltan Herczeg working down to turn number 3. You saw him in the 170s before lifting for the third corner. He sits 18th currently in qualifying times. Out of turn 4, we'll see if he goes any faster. He's got a few wins on the season, and across the line, he jumps from 18th to 3rd. How about that for Zoltan Herczeg, provisionally starting right behind Daniel Falkingham, as David Schutt, rather, gets onto the speedway for his qualifying time. He's joined out there for the first time all season by Freddie De La Rosa. How about this driver? He's not in the 72 we're used to seeing him in, so that's a big thing to note. He's in the 29, but Freddie De La Rosa for the first time this season on track.
And how about it in that beautiful Red Bull livery? The red numbers, something that might take a little bit getting used to on the of a blue and red car, but it'll be interesting to see how he does in his return to NORC. And Zoltan Herczeg getting third. I mean, this is huge. We usually talk about him having to work his way through the field. Him starting in third is going to put him just another step closer to attempting to go toe-to-toe.
Qualifying wrapping up, you can see the sun is setting just a little bit. Let's take a look first at our race weather for this evening. 68.9 degrees, call that 69 degrees in the air, 75 degrees on the track. It's a rather nice day down in virtual Fort Worth, Texas. Winds moving around, actually. That could trouble these drivers. Staying pretty consistent over 10 miles an hour. We'll see how that affects these guys throughout the course of the day. But first, we have got a lineup to go through. Starting on pole this evening, it's 7-time race winner in NORC Season 13, Daniel Falkingham, looking to make it 8 this evening. To his outside, it'll be the 48 car of Will Klein. Starting in the third position, it's Zoltan Herczeg, Daniel's main championship rival, starting right behind him with Chad Oxendine, 2-time winner on the season, starting fourth. Starting fifth this evening, it's going to be Howie Briss in the number 97 with Hayes Booth to his outside. How about that for the rookie out of Louisiana? Starting seventh this evening, it is none other than Terrell Baker, TCB himself, with Zach Lindgren to his outside in the 85 car. And rounding out the top 10, Eric, it's going to be Jared Darling in the 1 and John Barry in the 74.
Driver who missed the top 10 qualifying spot by one position, Brent Pancari, one of the winners on the season on one of the intermediate tracks. He'll be looking for success tonight. Ariati, after the top 5 at Indy last week, going to try to better that result there. He'll be starting the 23 car in 12 tonight outside of row number 6. Back to Anthony Emery, who's back in NORC competition in the DraftKings number 44 and 13 spot. And Tom Mercier with a decent qualifying effort here tonight, trying to get through the opening laps to see how his night will unfold here on the Texas mile and a half. Back now into row number 8. That will be Cole Freilich in that Dave Blaney throwback number 15, starting in the 15th spot. And Josh Robin outside in car number 8 and 16th spot. Now we go back to our Daytona winner and Cody Miller, who is 17th in the running order in car 28 inside of row number 9. And outside, we talked about him in qualifying, one of the NORC greats, Freddie De La Rosa, and that Red Bull number 29 will start in 18th spot. And taking you through our top 20, Tommy Gossett, that beautiful number 10 tonight in 19th, and Femi Ola, multi-time winner on the NORC season. You won't miss that Interstate Batteries number 18 coming from 20th outside of row 10.
We'll have to see how he does as we find our way back to row number 11. It'll be Bobby Chaney in the 24, David Schutt in the 5s. Got a little work to do from the 22nd position. Back to row number 12. It'll be Spencer Owens in the 12 and Sheldon Lockie in the 69, starting in the 24th position. Back to row number 13. It'll be Jared Wishon and Sean Williams. Row number 14. It'll be the 9 of Patrick Colby and the 21 of Taylor Frey. And at the back of the field will be driver the number 53, Michael Keithley.
29 cars in total, the most we've had in the last 4 weeks here in the NORC iRacing Series. Everybody getting formed up, everybody getting ready to go for 134 laps, 200 miles in the Lone Star State. They say everything gets done bigger in Texas, and I cannot wait to see how big this race is for championship implications this evening. Everybody pacing slowly through the high bank turns 3 and 4. That means it's about time to hand things over to the one, the only TCB. Will drag the driver of the 25 car on in, and TCB, buddy, take it away.
All right, boys, here we are here at Texas, and everything's bigger in Texas. Can I get a big old Texas Roadhouse? Yeah!
Out of turn number 2, it's all Falkingham leading the way, and how about that for a big yeehaw from TCB to open the day. Zoltan Herczeg battles down to the bottom side of turns 3 and 4, takes second place away from Will Klein. Hayes Booth around the top, almost in the wall. Here comes Oxendine.
Boy, things really narrow up there off of turn 4. That may be Calamity Corner tonight, and no surprise here. The top 2 winners on the season are top 2 in this race with 1 lap in the books. Now Falkingham trying to do what he can to hopefully gap Hertzeg, who rides in the second spot. Will Klein running in third. Chad Oxendine with a big block there on the back straightaway, forcing Hayes Booth to look high. That could have got ugly there in 3 and 4. Everybody's starting to fight their way down to the bottom. Zach Lindgren, the lone soldier, up top in the top 10 as we come down to put another lap on the board.
Yeah, again, it's going to be all about who can get down in line the quickest and kind of start putting yourself in position for the long haul. You still see Lindgren making his ground on the outside, or at least trying to keep himself alive up there. He's lost the spot now to Jared Darling, and I'll get the amazing run off the corner vote. Despite how flat 1 and 2 is, into turns 3 and 4, he'll go way up the track, actually, and we'll try to keep that run going, but he's actually going to get now alongside the 74 John Barry.
John Barry back into the top 10. Anthony Emery looks low. Maybe took him 3 for a moment. Down to the bottom side goes Texas native Anthony Emery. 1 spot, 2 spots. He tries on the inside of Zach Lindgren in the 85 car. That DraftKings 44 is moving forward. How about Anthony Emery now into 10th? And he's got Zach Lindgren out his windshield, then Jared Darling, TCB, and Oxendine now looking high of Hayes Booth, who's gotten on by the Summer Shandy 66 car.
Just a couple laps to go, we had a look at Oxendine trying to throw the big block on Hayes Booth on the backstretch. Looks as though that Booth was able to get the pass made, and now has put his car up another position of the running order. He's got some pep in his step tonight here, is Hayes Booth. Right now, he's the highest running driver not competing for a championship in the field right now, and he said he felt confident while Hertzeg hunts the lead in 3.
Here we go. The title fight toe-to-toe. Even though Hertzeg is 27-some points back, he's going to go at it with Daniel Falkenham here, trying to get to his inside through the quad oval, trying to tail him, trying to get to the inside into turn 1. Falkenham will get the arc into the corner. Hertzeg will miss the bottom slightly, and he'll try to go once again out of turn 2.
Down the backstretch, lap number 6 now underway, and about halfway done. 4th place, Hayes Booth looking to the inside of Will Klein maybe as Zach Lindgren ducks down low, looking for something underneath Howie Briss. It looks like he might have an opportunity to get there as well, side by side with the driver who comes in 12th in the championship standings, tied with Will Klein. And at the line, it was almost Lindgren. Up front, Zoltan still looking for a way by Daniel Falkenham.
I like what I'm seeing out of Zoltan, though. One, he's being a little bit experimental. You saw him wash up way wide in the middle of 1 and 2. Look at the run he's got here on the back straightaway. That may be enough to pull alongside, applying the pressure to the wins leader on the season and points leader, and in turns 3 and 4, Zoltan Hertzeg to the point as they come around a complete lap number 7. The door wasn't open long enough for Will Klein to follow through. He's going to peek down low in the quad oval. Hertzeg leads his first lap of the night.
And Zoltan Hertzeg putting himself in prime position now, where Falkenham is now currently under heavy attack, heavy fire from the 48 of Will Klein, the 11 of Hayes Booth. They're going at it, and Falkenham, if he gets caught up here with some other battles and Hertzeg pulls away and Falkenham maybe drops down to running order, what a step in the right direction it'd be for Zoltan in this title fight. But again, we're only working lap 8 of 134. It's wishful thinking to think that Falkenham's going to go away without a fight. But how about this? Here comes Hayes Booth to the inside of Will Klein.
Hayes Booth looking to the inside for 3rd place. He's got the nose ahead, and he should, I say should, move in front of Will Klein. Not clear just yet. The 48 hanging on the outside of the 11. Does not want to lose that spot. Love these views from high above the Texas Motor Speedway. Oxendine now looking low. He's going to take 4th place. Terrell Baker maybe thinking about going on through.
Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that that high line has materialized, at least not yet. Once you get kicked up there, it's very hard for you to be able to make some ground. Falkingham was very lucky that when he got relegated to that second groove in 3 and 4, he was able to kind of stabilize in second spot, but he is in danger of getting passed by this group of cars right here. Hayes Booth looking low. Oxendine nearly makes it 3 wide, and Booth's going to have to concede the line in 3. Oxendine down low. He's on the charge after what was not the best of starts to his chase last week at Indy. He's up to 3rd as Oxendine.
Let's not forget that this guy can get it done on the mile and a halves as well. I believe he won Homestead. He's looking at right now current point leader Daniel Falkenham for 2nd, and he's trying to get a better rotate through the corner. He's got the nice line down the back. What does he do with it?
Out of turn number 3, TCB looks low of Hayes Booth. Hayes Booth bites on that move and blocks down low. TCB still looking high. And how about Zach Lindgren hanging top on the top side? He moved up a little bit, and he's starting to use that top to his advantage. Now looking high of Will Klein at the line. He's not quite up next to him. but is alongside the right rear quarter panel down to turns 1 and 2. This is where the top side is so poor for these drivers as, oh my goodness, look, Klein forcing his way down to the inside of the Hendrick Cars 25 car, maybe having a position on Terrell Baker. I don't think he's got it down to 3 though. Here comes Zach back on the top side.
Yeah, who would have thought that the 4 degrees of banking difference between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 would make such a significant impact on the progression of that top line. Look at Lindgren get a good run here. Whoa, Klein almost squeezed him up to the fence that time off the corner. But you're right, Andrew. I think that there's a bit of a detriment here, more so in 1 and 2, being that this is only 20 degrees of banking, as Klein nearly shoves Baker up out of the groove there on the bottom. And the high side is pretty much only going to be, I think, early in this race, a little bit beneficial in 3 and 4 if you can make it work. As these two, as far as Lindgren and Emery, are trying to make some moves on the low side after Baker got kicked up top.
Absolutely, and everybody, I mean, for what it's worth, still fighting so hard early on in this race. I got to bring the point up, and, you know, when do tires start to become a factor? What kind of fuel strategy can we look at? It'll be interesting to see when everybody tries to get sorted out, who's going to want to settle where they're at, who's going to, you know, start to let others buy in, I guess, tires and trying to see if they can get them back later in the race. As you see Anthony Emery power right on by the 25 to TCB. That may be a move for TCB, either to save some tires or just try to survive with what he's got right now.
Right now, TCB certainly in survival mode as he's dropping throughout the top 10 running order. John Berry looks to the inside, and I'm noticing Terrell just isn't quite getting to that white line on the bottom side of 1 and 2. I took a few laps around here earlier on today, and I noticed that was a big challenge to try and get all the way down to the bottom and really get in that bottom lane in 1 and 2. As you can see, John Berry twice to the inside of TC. I think that's the big problem for Terrell right now, is also there's a bit of a dent punched into the center of the 74 car on his nose right there. Might be able to see it from the front end again right there. You can see that the splitter is not quite sealed off. But anyways, the point being for TCB, he's just, until now, he was not getting to the bottom side of 1 and 2, not even in 3 and 4. He just was not protecting. That time he protects from David Schutt and might have something as the laps wind on, as we now at work lap 16 coming to 17. And up front, the top 5, pretty steady.
Everybody's still staying within close proximity to one another in that top 5, with Hertzeg still holding it down at the front. And, you know, Falkingham doing exactly what he needs to do here as we ride on board with Will Klein on the entry to turns 1 and 2. And, you know, he's got himself in a position here, does Falkingham, to see his immediate competition. He may not be leading and logging the laps like he's been accustomed to so far this season, but he knows his closest pursuer in points is truly within reach, quite literally. So Falkingham, despite him having to ride second in line here to that of Hertzeg, I would say it's certainly in no means a time to panic for that 20 camp, as Oxendine has not really been quite able to close up what's about a 3-car length gap to what would be a fight for second if Oxendine could get there.
I just want to mention that Josh Robin is now taking it to the pit lane with some hood damage. As this battle for lead continues on, Robin, who had started 16th, had some contact with a lot of jostling for position in turn 1 a few laps ago. We lost the hood and now getting that repaired. Zoltan Hertzeg has his hands full with current point leader Daniel Falkingham. And how about this battle? This is Boot trying to get clear of Will Klein once again for the 4th position.
Will Klein looked on the outside that time by. You can see the top 10 getting rather spread out. Everybody kind of spacing themselves out aside from this battle for 4th, as even Daniel Falkingham can't quite get up to Zoltan Hertzeg. Does Will Klein look to the outside again here in 3 and 4? We'll wait and see. Not quite. It looks like he's just a little bit too far back of the 11 car of Hayes Booth. This lead up front is, or this battle up front is a little bit interesting. The fact that we have turned things around on Daniel Falkingham. We have not have to seen him chase too many times. Usually he's always in the catbird seat, Eric, including last week in Indianapolis where he really was in the catbird seat. All he had to do is sit back and ride. I mean, literally all he had to do last week was ride around, and he mentioned it as well. He just ran his own race and was first to the finish line, and he, I mean, obviously won. There were other strategies that certainly trying to get in his head and move him around, but he just would not falter last week. Took home the race win. This time, here at Texas, he's got a battle with Zoltan Hertzeg straight up.
Granted, there's still a long way to go in a lot of ways in which this race could unfold. And, you know, I think at one point we wrote off Daniel Falkingham as potentially winning that race. We thought that he was too off strategy, didn't nail it down properly. And, he came back and proved to everybody that he was going to kick off this chase in the same fashion in which he's been able to maintain the championship points lead for most of the season. He's now hugging the bottom of the racetrack here in the corner. And Emerson Arden mentioned, a little bit of trouble for Josh Robin. We also got some chase contenders who have had some trouble in the early laps, including this driver, Jared Darling, with clear damage to the back tail piece of that car. He, along with Cody Miller, have dropped down the running order significantly, but I believe Jared Darling is in serious, serious trouble tonight.
Having a lot of problems here is the Illinois driver, right back down to the bottom side in 3 and 4. And you saw he got very sideways on pit out. And if you look back at our track map from earlier, you can see just how strict that pit out is. And it's even gotten way, way worse for these drivers, much trickier with how narrow that is now with the widening of turns 1 and 2. So he's going to come back down the pit lane. These are big problems for 4th place in the standings. Jared Darling, this is really, really big trouble if you're a fan of the 1 car. As these guys up front get side by side, Falkingham back down to the bottom side. This lead battle will not relent.
That time, Falkingham's going to take it down to the inside and cement the lead back here. Second lead change of the night, but look at the run that Herczeg gets here off the corner. What's he going to do with it? He's going to stay in line. If Herczeg wanted to push the issue there and dip that car to the low side, I think he would have did it. He's going to instead try a wide arc here in 1 and 2. I saw Herczeg try this early in the race, and he seems to have this down packed a little bit. Walsh is way up wide, has a late apex off of turn 2, and he's able to close in significantly up to the tailpiece of that number 20 car on the back straightaway. And it looks as though he's going to keep trying to set this up here, doing all that is possible to try to back up Falkingham for the lead.
Absolutely. He gets that nice run off of turn 2, the long sweeping, oval 1 and 2 here, and he just gets that nice run, the nice arc. He uses the hill a little bit to add some speed to it, and I think that's also an ode to Herczeg acknowledging that cleaner air. Driver didn't run the preferred line for 1 and 2 right behind Falkingham. Try to get some air to that nose to help that car turn a little bit more, to save that right front tire a little bit more, and try to keep himself alive in this battle for the long haul.
You can see on that little telemetry piece, bottom left, that Daniel's most recent lap now, a 31.678. Herczeg's most recent lap, a 31.7 straight up and down. These guys are right on top of each other, and I mean that's pretty evident by the fact that they just don't seem to be moving around, either one gaining an advantage or losing too much. So these guys are quite literally on top of one another in so many different ways, and I expect that to stay throughout the rest of the race. I think the only thing that we see split these two apart potentially is going to be a pit strategy. As the laps wind on here, we're already through, it looks like 26 now on lap 27 of 134, Eric. Pit stops are looming, not quite yet. I think we've got another 20, 30 laps before they really come in and whatnot, but we are getting close.
We're eventually going to start to see these guys have to hit pit lane, and we talked about it at Indy, getting onto the pit lane and slow down at Indianapolis. It takes a bit to get that car down to pit speed. Well, here in Texas, it's tougher. You're coming off that 24 degrees of banking. You have a very narrow window as far as pavement to get down to that timing line and down to pit road speed limit. You could throw this race away here pretty early, and some of these guys who are really hanging on for dear life as far as the chase is concerned, you could throw away your shot at the championship here if you don't get this pit entry right, should we stay green. I think the spacing that's starting to materialize between most of the top 10 is going to be a saving grace for these drivers. But we've also got a lot of comers that are making their way up to the field. Benny Olot is in that category. Also, Freddie De La Rosa. And we've been talking a lot about Anthony Emery. He may not be done charging up forward just yet, as he is closing in on here. Actually, he's running into the 6th spot. We dropped back a little bit to TCB, who's falling out of that top 10 contention for the time being. And that's going to be Mr. Adi moving his way down through there. He's also been a comer making his way up through the field. Brett Pancari is next on his hit list.
Some of the goers have been, how about the 11 of Hayes Booth, who's been up there in the top 5. He's down to 7th, trying to kind of survive in that 11 car. He's got John Bay right behind, who kind of followed him back here as well. And they're nearly in the clutches of the 18 of Femi Olot and Freddie De La Rosa, a couple of spots back as well. I mean, this run from Femi Olot, again, started 20th, has, in the heart of the field, has cut that deficit in half pretty much into the top 10 and 9th. And he's looking at a couple more spots, and who knows what happens when pit cycles happen, what Femi Olot can do. And how about Freddie De La Rosa here, trying to find his way around the 5 with David Shutt.
Yeah, this is the first time we've talked about Freddie De La Rosa in this kind of, I guess, aspect, this kind of context. We've talked a lot about him with records, and of course he was tied with Zoltan Herczeg for a moment as far as total race wins, I do believe. I've got to double check that, actually. I'm starting to doubt myself. I know that if I go all the way down here, I'll find it eventually. Yeah, Zoltan Herczeg is now 1 win ahead with his win at Legacy Daytona. So maybe this is a response from Freddie De La Rosa. He wants to hang on to 4th place in the all-time wins category potentially, and it's going to start maybe with this evening at Texas as he goes right on by the 5 car of David Schutt. That's good for position number 10 as they all chase Daniel Falkingham, getting closer and closer to 100 laps to go.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm really starting to like the feel of this race here as we start to see some of these names rise on up through the field as we see John Berry getting up and around Hayes Group, Demi Olot next in line to try to make that pass happen. What's a battle for 7th, 8th, and 9th respectively, but you've got the dominators this season as far as the win column goes with Falkingham and Herczeg parading the field as they have for the first start of the first 32 laps of this race here tonight. But to see guys who, as Andrew was just alluding to, lay claim to so many records and stat titles in the North column, like Femi Olot, who makes the move on the inside of his booth here, or Freddie De La Rosa, we're starting to see what could be one of the most epic battles in races on a track of this nature. Now, granted, Femi's got a couple of wins to his credit after having much success at the Talladega Duels, and he often pops in here and tries to compete and have some fun with the North guys like old times. But on a track of this caliber, to see these names all running in close proximity to one another, now getting up all 4 of them being in the top 10, that is, I think this is boding well for the duration of this event. And I'm excited to see how far that 18, as well as that scored 72, but I believe it's left up to number 29 of Freddie De La Rosa, how far they can get up through the field and what that's going to do for the race up towards the front.
Well, speaking of the race up towards the front, Chad Oxendine has gone up to 2nd over Zoltan Herczeg, and this happened a couple laps ago, and Oxendine really charging his way forward. I don't know if Herczeg is in tire conservation mode or tire survival mode, but Oxendine surely isn't, as he sets his sights on race leader and championship leader Daniel Falkingham. He's got a little bit of a margin to close here, 0.7 of a second, and actually Falkingham gained there out of turn 2, but Oxendine's been looking pretty sporty late in this run.
Yeah, this is a little bit different for Chad Oxendine as far as being so good this evening. We're not quite used to that out of this guy. Not saying that we're not used to him being fast, but you think back throughout the course of the season, and we're used to seeing him be good on short tracks. This is a little bit different. This is certainly not a short track. It doesn't really drive like one at all. I guess maybe turns 1 and 2 drive a little bit like a short track, but really, Eric, this is a little bit odd to see him be the one to start to drive through the field. One thing he is, of course, good at is managing his stuff, managing his tires throughout the course of the run and moving forward that way. So that's certainly, I would say, why he's moving in the forward direction as we see one driver potentially slip. It was Howie Briss for a moment. It looks like scoring sorts him back out. But you know what? Let's touch on Howie Briss, actually, as he rides in me. I'll search for him. He is actually quite down through the order. He is in 20th position now on board with him. And he's got some right side damage.
Briss is somebody who, as we mentioned last week at Indy, was able to squeak his way into the championship playoff by virtue of his consistency throughout the season. Did not have the race at Indy that he was hoping for. In fact, came into the night tied for 11th with that of Will Klein, who was having a much better evening thus far. But Briss in that beautiful Exalta scheme, who has always been in the mix, in contention, running up towards the top 10, just haven't been able to put the results together just yet. And we talked about the potential of pit stops starting to come to a head here, and Tom Mercier was one of the first to be on the pit lane with his Ford. He will relinquish that car for the pit box for service, and this may start the flood of drivers coming down for their first stop of the night.
Yeah, you got to think Tom Mercier's, I think made the obvious call that this is going to be a 2-stop race. He's getting a massive short pit. What this does mean is he's going to have to go long on either this stint or his last stint if he's going to, make it to the end on his, well, he's going to make it to the end, but to get the life out of his tires and still stay on strategy, Tom Mercier, though. We'll see where he cycles out. This could be a huge play to set himself up nicely for the second half of this race.
Could also be a move to go for a 3-stopper, actually, to go faster. And that's something we saw a little bit of from Daniel Falkingham last week, go faster on tires for a little bit less. I believe these guys had the tires to do so this evening. I'll have to fact check that, as my goodness, Hayes Booth nearly gets the wall out of turn 4. If he did get it, it was just the slightest little touch and maybe folding in the right rear quarter panel a little bit as Freddie De La Rosa continues to work on John Barry. But that could be a move at a 3-stop, could be a move at a 2-stop. We'll have to wait and see out of Tom Mercier. He does things a little bit oddball sometimes, so the driver out of the Northeast certainly calling his shots early as Freddie De La Rosa right down to the bottom side of John Barry. And this is somebody that, these three drivers, they have all raced together for so long. They know what each other are going to do for the most part as John Barry gets loose at a turn 4. I don't think Freddie expected that, but he'll go right on by that 74 car.
Boy, I felt like I just about got punched in the stomach there. That took the breath out of me. I thought for sure Barry was going to go around. And you can see the handling characteristics of these cars starting to change significantly. I've been watching John Barry the last few laps, and I feel like he's running that high line there just because he knows that what is good for his car for the moment. And he has certainly been falling in the wrong direction as far as timing and scoring is concerned, while De La Rosa continues to motor his way on up through the ranking. You see Olot 7th, De La Rosa 8th, Barry back to 9th, Hayes Booth rounding out your top 10. But boy, that moment that John Barry just had off turn 4, that may become a little more frequent for some of these drivers as we get later into this run. And the handling of these cars starts to change as David Shutt almost came across the bow of Ariati and wants to fight for 11th.
Here we go, and this is the point of tires here. If you've saved your stuff, you can really pick off some cars. At the same time, drivers going to be making their way to the pit lane in the coming laps as well. But this battle just continues on for the 11th position. Pancari in 13th, waiting in the wings in case there's a slip up, but Ariati powers on by. What we think, though, Shutt trying to get the crossover. Pancari trying to insert himself into this battle.
Shutt looking low, Pancari maybe looking a little bit lower down to turn 3. Shutt takes the bottom side away from Ariati, moves that DraftKings 23 car up the racetrack a little bit, and out of turn 4, Ariati covers up that battle, that move from David Shutt, keeps that 11th position, but just barely. Goodness, what a battle these guys are putting on. What a battle we're seeing, well, what battles I suppose we're seeing throughout the entire field. We've also got Spencer Owens working on Sheldon Lockie a little further back. You go even further through the field, get down to guys like Taylor Frey battling with Sean Williams and Cole Freilich back here in 22nd spot, even with Michael Keithley. These guys battling for 22nd on the racetrack, and Cole Freilich has been in the wall.
Freilich way up the racetrack in turns 1 and 2 here, and he's got some obvious damage to the right side of that car. Love the paint scheme, love the fact that it pays homage to that of Dave Blaney's rookie Cup Series season all the way back in the year 2000. Also ran this similar scheme back in what was then called the Busch Series in the late 90s, and Freilich very passionate about that livery in this series. And we flash back up here as we hit the 1/3 distance mark, and I know we mentioned this in the opening that we weren't quite sure as to what type of race we were going to see, but this NORC season with this group of drivers has been known to somehow be able to put together races on tracks that are exceptionally difficult and make them very clean. I thought for sure we'd have at least 2 cautions by this point in the race, and so far we're talking about the potential of green flag pit stops. We've seen it by some drivers who are trying to get off strategy, but again, another race, another tough track, another NORC event where we're not seeing a lot of the yellow silk, at least at this point.
For me, I'm surprised that we haven't seen a lot of drivers try to make their way to the pit lane. We're at the point now to make it an easy 2-stop, and nobody's elected to do that. Is it because of just how much you're off the throttle in 1 and 2? Is it possible to make it on a 1-stop? I doubt it, but you have to factor that in. You're off the throttle so much. You're braking, so early for turns 1 and 2. Is that enough off-throttle time to save fuel to make it to halfway?
Well, if these drivers do decide to try and go for a 1-stop strategy, they've got to get to lap 67, the completion thereof, before pitting, unless they want to save harder in the second run than the first run, which then you could pit about 65, 66, but you've got to make it to 60 and change if you want to even get close to making that mark, as Will Klein has trouble potentially from Zoltan Herczeg down to turn 3. This is a very Will Klein racetrack, I feel like. This is one that requires a bit of finesse, a bit of just outright speed, and he's showing it this evening up to 3rd place. I say that, he goes up the track as Chad Oxendine hits, and My goodness, Will Klein hard on the wall. I will never call a racetrack his kind of racetrack again. As soon as I say this feels like a track for Will Klein, boom, hard on the wall, turn 4.
Klein with pretty significant impact, which that appears to be the theme of the night so far. I thought turn 4 would be our trouble zone for the evening, and it has been. It just hasn't caused a massive or major problem just yet, as Oxendine is on the pit lane. We mentioned the fact that he did not have the run he wanted at Indy last week. He lost 4 spots in the championship standings, fell all the way back to 8th, 51 markers out of the championship point lead. That is someone who needs a solid result tonight, and even more so, he needs this cycle of pit stops to work its way all the way through to completion so he does not get trapped too far down the running order, or worse, a lap down. Meanwhile, Klein, after making the contact on the right side of that car to the outside of the turn 4 wall, in danger of losing a spot here, and will lose a spot, to Zach Lindgren. Lindgren up to 3rd.
Yeah, this run for Zach Lindgren just gets even better and better for himself. Will Klein hits the pit lane, I'd imagine, with the damages Ari Audi as well. Bobby Chaney, David Schutt leaving his pit box in style at that. And there's Chad Oxendine, who's already made his pit stop up in the 19th position.
There you see Will Klein working down the pit lane. He falls quite a ways through the running order. Chad Oxendine has cycled into the 19th position for now as TCB and Howie Briss join the pit lane for service, and they're bringing with, it looks like, some more drivers looking through the field, actually, and I think they're the only 2 takers that first round. Well, I shouldn't say the first round, but that particular lap. I would imagine Falkingham covers up these moves from these guys, though, very, very soon. Maybe not this lap, maybe the next. We're getting to that point where, I mean, he's going to be pitting with 30 laps to go or less in that last run, unless he really shortens things down in this next. I don't really know. It seems like every time we think we know what these guys are going to do, they surprise us. So clearly, Daniel Falkingham running deeper into this first run. I don't think he goes all the way to lap 67. I don't think these guys are going for that strategy at all. Zach Lindgren is in, though. And there you see Freddie De La Rosa working into the pit lane, actually, along with Zach Lindgren and Femi Olot. They're trying to work into their pit stalls orderly, and they do so.
I'm not sure if they're trying to get as close to that halfway point and maybe see if we get a bunch of yellow flags at some point that will multiply the opportunities to save fuel, but I'm not quite sure that's going to in fact happen, as we have more drivers coming down. Sean Williams into the pit lane. Now we drop back to see Michael Keithley coming down here as we kick off lap number 54 for your leaders. So according to my numbers, which are not always the best, I believe at least the top 8, maybe 9 cars, Cody Miller was not having the best of nights at the time of his pit cycle, have yet to come down, but I think that number is going to wane as Hayes Booth has been having a solid night. He's on the pit lane. Still no sign, though, of the top 2 in the race. Also happen to be the top 2 in the championship, and also happen to be the top 2 as far as wins on the season. Falkingham's going to put another lap on the board.
Yeah, this is something I do not quite know the strategy if they can't make it to that 67 mark. I guess that'd be another thing. Run it as long as you can, run it dry until you get some timely yellows. My thing is, Brett Pancari is usually the driver I look towards to see if they can make it if these drivers can make it on one. So here comes the race leader.
Daniel Falkingham finally coming into the pits. Whoa, what an entry. That should, yeah, it does bring in Zoltan Herzeg. That was close to speeding. That was very, very close, but he works down the pit lane now as that is going to bring John Barry along with, but a couple of drivers staying out, even another lap. And that's going to be Anthony Emery now getting passed up by Taylor Frey. Here comes Will Klein to go by the 44 car. Texas native Anthony Emery getting that lap led. He brings Brett Pancari and Spencer Owens for one more lap around the Speedway, as well as Cody Miller, who sits in 8th that has not quite pitted. Here comes Emery. Whoa, what an entry.
That is something I would not be able to do. Go from running at speed to having to get on the binders and literally drift your way onto the pit lane without getting nabbed with a potential speeding penalty. Pancari and Owens remain, I believe, the only 2 cars that have yet to stop, and I also believe they're going to come about 10 laps short. Also, it sounds that Cody Miller has not stopped yet either, even though he has not been having the best of nights, our Daytona winner. So with that in mind, here's a look at Miller, who's way down on the apron of the racetrack here. Looks like he's going to come in this time. So Pancari and Owens are the last 2, and they're probably, wow, Pancari's going to stay out at least another lap here. So they're probably going to come up about either on that side, that halfway mark. But if they do get some cautions later in this race, Bakari may try to stretch it to the end here. It could be within that window of opportunity. I don't know if you get enough yellow flags to do so, but he's also losing a lot of times here, being on the oldest tires in the field as Owens concedes from second.
Again, when it comes to these length league races, if you're going to make them on a one-stop, you got to commit to the one-stop right off the bat. Looked like Pancari's slow on the racetrack, so he's coming down this time, and he's not going for a one-stop. And oh my goodness, he's flying, and did he make it?
That was close. You mentioned, though, these drivers, they're going to go for the one-stop. They've got to decide from the get-go. He might have tried. I don't know if he's just going for the bonus point. I don't know, but I don't like that move. If you're going to pit 9 laps before your mark for going for the one-stop, I'm just not sure. And that's something you've got to practice for. You cannot go into the race and just decide to do it in the race and expect it to go well. You've got to practice for that and know that you're good to go to that mark to make it a one-stop race. Meanwhile, somehow, Chad Oxendine has worked himself into the race lead 4 seconds ahead of Will Klein, who is a second and more back to Daniel Falkingham. Olot now sits in fourth. Things really getting jumbled up as Will Klein now in second, Falkingham in third, Femiola in fourth, Zach Lindgren in fifth. The rest of the top 10, of course, there on your screen. Zoltan Herczeg, it looks like, getting by one car. He gets by Ariati. And he's going by Cole Freilich, although that is a lap car, that 15 car.
Ariati's going to try to follow him up to the top side of the racetrack. I think one of the reasons why Oxendine was a big beneficiary here, he pitted a lot earlier than the bulk of the top 10. So we're going to see that rubber band effect here, but we also have to be aware of the fact that Oxendine is going to have to stop a lot sooner than what the majority of the field came down on. So right now, his lead over Will Klein is about 4.7 seconds as Falkingham. As a matter of fact here, it's Falkingham who assumes up into the second spot, with Klein falling back to third. And Femi Olot's climb through the pack continues. He's fourth with, surprise, surprise, Freddie De La Rosa rounding out a top 5.
The caliber of drivers that have sorted themselves out into the top 10 is phenomenal. And you kind of expected this as the race went on, especially in a long green flag run. Texas, especially the newer configuration, the one we're running right now, takes a lot of precision, I guess you wanted to. You have to be so disciplined, that's the word I was trying to think. Disciplined through 1 and 2 to hit those marks. As we got this battle still going on. This is Shutt trying to follow suit of Ariati. This is 8th place and 9th place going by lap car Cole Freilich. And again, to get down to that white line every single lap, the precision it takes is insane.
We're continuing to watch this battle because David Shutt and Cole Freilich, they've got history. You NORC viewers, that you watch the NORC Radioactive throughout the weekend, you know there is history right here between these two. And Cole Freilich is fighting with these guys for that reason. Cole Freilich not happy with David Shutt after a couple of weeks back at Daytona. They reared their ugly heads to one another, if you will, in a way. Their anger at least reared their ugly heads towards each other in Indianapolis last week. And these two drivers are now side by side. Freilich a lap down, Shutt trying to battle up to Ariati. What does Freilich continue to do? Continues to battle, makes it tough for David Shutt. And this is something that a lot of drivers do, is they make it tough for somebody that is a lap ahead that they've had trouble with before. I mean, they are continuing to just go side by side, and Cole is really making it tough right now on David Shutt.
You can feel the intensity of this battle, although Cole has given him plenty of room there on the top side of the racetrack. In fact, I'm really impressed that Cole is making the outside work in the fashion that he's been able to. Shutt will now fall in front of him here, and Freilich will fall back about a car length off the back bumper of Shutt. He'll continue to ride that high line here. So that, as far as I'm concerned, from racer etiquette, that's how it's done. I even noticed a little bit of a beef between those two. We didn't see him, door slamming him off the corner and whatnot. He did give him a rough time for sure, as you said there, Andrew, but eventually he gave up the spot on the racetrack. That wasn't, of course, for position, and Shutt was able to get through cleanly. We got more battles starting to materialize here, as Freddie De La Rosa is not done. How about getting up to the top 5 for De La Rosa? He could do just that if he gets around Zach Lindgren, who's keeping up that solid night so far, holding down P5 for the moment.
I think solid season would be the thing to say about Lindgren. He is just pieced together these, high top 10, these top 5 runs, run after run, and, trying to hang on to it, of course, as we're coming up to halfway against one of the best in the league, Freddie De La Rosa. But Zach Lindgren, again, he was up there in the top 4 with the strategy. You can't really help that drivers like Femiola and Freddie De La Rosa are coming out of nowhere from behind. But still, the fact that he's keeping himself in this mix and keeping himself alive and keeping his name in the hat should things go awry is huge. And you see this nearly every week with Zach bearing a speeding penalty like last week.
Yeah, thankfully we have not seen him speed on the pit lane just yet. Zach Lindgren did end up really ruining his day last week and potentially his chase hopes, but this great run tonight is going to put a lot of last week behind him, certainly, and start to move him back up through that field. Maybe not for the championship, but for a rookie season in the NORC iRacing Series, this has gone pretty well. And he's even gotten his teammate, Jared Wishon, into things. Granted, Jared Wishon not having the greatest of evenings, despite having a great average finish. He's only made 2 stars. His average finish is 10th. He has done a fantastic job of putting himself into some pretty good spots so far in that 27 car, and potentially a lot to watch for as these guys continue to do some battle. Daniel Falkingham right on Chad Oxendine. This is what we were waiting for between these two. The swap for the 20 car back to the race lead. It's coming, maybe not this lap, this next one, now that we're on. We'll do it. So lap 69, put the 20 car back up to the lead.
Mentioned the rubber band effect and the fact that Oxendine pitted so much earlier. Well, that massive lead that he had, now gone. I guess that nobody is necessarily shocked that Falkingham was able to utilize his pit strategy as an opportunity to close up and get up to and past Oxendine. Hertzeg's another driver that is starting to eat up some of the deficit that he found himself far and away from some of the drivers who got between both he and Falkingham. He's caught Freddie De La Rosa and Zach Lindgren. That 2-car fight for 5th is now a 3-car battle, with Hertzeg clearly having the best of the bunch and nearly clipping the grass at the end of the quad oval in turn 1. Hertzeg to 6th. May not be done yet. He's going to go after Lindgren here off of 2.
Now what this is going to do, though, is as Hertzeg clearly has the pace advantage right now because of when he pitted and trying to work his way past Zach Lindgren, Falkingham's already cleared to the lead, and we already saw Hertzeg struggle on the long run on tires. I don't know what the play is for Zoltan going forward. I'd imagine if he was struggling earlier, he would have taken the opportunity to maybe short pit that first stint. We'll have to see as pit stops come around this time around what his play is. If he's going to keep himself alive in this race. Not only that, but most realistically in the title fight to keep himself alive.
Yeah, Zoltan has got to hope this goes completely right for him as Will Klein is slow down the backstretch, way down to the bottom side. Problems for Will Klein. I'm not sure if maybe this is... We've seen him start in park recently. In fact, that's happened, I think, the last... or at least 2 of the last 3 weeks. This could be another move from him. He made the chase, but it seems like maybe he's got other things going on potentially for the 48 car. He's trying to get down the pit lane, and there he is. He is going to stop park, and it looks like that is done for Will Klein. Don't know why he's started to start in park here in the NORC iRacing Series, but he has. Comes in, parks after 70 some odd laps, and looks like he's done for the evening. But as we have now worked past halfway, Daniel Falkingham, your race leader, then Chad Oxendine, Femi Olot, Zoltan Hertzeg, Zach Lindgren, Freddie De La Rosa, Anthony Emery, Ariati, David Shutt, and apparently a battle for 10th back here with Hayes Booth and John Barry. Maybe not. It looks like they're actually a little further apart than we thought. But John Barry rounding out the top 10. That means we will take a step aside momentarily. We'll be right back to you with more from Texas.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Welcome back to the virtual Texas Motors Speedway. 1.5 miles, 2.4 kilometers of brand new pavement down here in Fort Worth, Texas. Battles all across the racetrack. Daniel Falkingham continues to lead. In fact, I think that might be him. That is him coming to us by the speed shot there. Second place is going to be Chad Oxendine there in the yellow car, then Famiola in third. And Eric, we've seen the dynamic of this race take a few shifts as Jared Darling comes down the pit lane, and a lot has changed. The one constant is Daniel Falkingham being the best of the bunch.
That's been the theme for, almost the whole season? I mean, maybe not at Daytona, but once we got things underway at Kansas from that point forward, it's been the Daniel Falkingham show. And it's been very impressive because when we look at the NORC season in its totality, granted we're only 2 races into the 7-race chase, we've had a lot of very clean race. It's not like Falkingham has lucked into any of these things. Emerson Arden pulled out the stat that he led every lap that we ran on the 2 road course races this season. This is someone who has found a way to go ahead and garner victory. And you see it right there on your screen. 7 victories on the season, going for 8 tonight. Zoltan Herczeg, who obviously has 4 wins to boot. These guys hogging up the win column stats, but this is after the reset that we had with our one and only chase race at Indy last week, and Falkingham picked up right where he left off, the chance for momentum to shift. It just didn't happen. Now here we are in Texas. We saw Herczeg get by him early. It took Falkingham about 20 laps to get in a bit of a rhythm. And next thing you know, he's out in front and may have, yet again for the second week in a row, the best pit strategy. I expect to see that ebb and flow kind of continue as we may see Chad Oxendine on the pit lane early. But right now, it's all about car 20 yet again.
And that's been a somewhat consistent theme this season. We now watch this battle. This is Lindgren working by a lapped vehicle of Sean Williams, but he's under heavy fire from Freddie De La Rosa. But he's put on a brilliant defense against this 29 and what scored is the 72 car. And
caution!
Caution on the speedway. Oh my goodness.
Jared Darling is the only slow car that I see, and I believe that might be the root cause of our first yellow on the evening. Jared Darling in trouble at a turn number 4. We'll take a look back and try and diagnose this for the driver out of Illinois. Big problems. A big fan of the number 1, a big fan of Elliott Sadler. It's not working out for him this evening, though. He was right behind a good friend of his, though, in Hayes Booth. So the 1 and the 11 potentially having a problem in 3 and 4. Darling ground on the outside. Hayes Booth still hanging in pretty tough in the front running. And, he just gets loose, pounds the outside wall in turn 4. And how about that job by everybody to miss him?
That night going from bad to worse for Jared Darling, who is really a great kid and does a lot in the sim racing community and has a lot of success, but it has yet to find him throughout most of this NORC season. He did make the playoffs, or the chases I should say, and had a strong start with a solid result at Indy, picked up 2 spots in the standings, yet to win so far in 2021. He's normally a fixture on some of the Super Speedway events, and he actually was running quite well here tonight. But it was an incident prior to this that put him behind the 8 ball with a bit of rear damage. But this may be the knockout blow here as the back end of the car steps out and slams the wall with the right side, enough to get the left side of the car off the ground. Fortunately for Darling and the field, nobody else running in close enough proximity to be collected. You see there Taylor Frey going by. Fortunately, he was far enough back that he did not hit the spinning car of Darling. But boy, your heart goes out for Jared, who has been working so hard at trying to be able to put all the pieces together. Maybe the championship is going to be out of reach here as pit stops are underway for the leaders here on lap 83. After the first and only caution so far tonight being brought out by Jared Darling, and Falkingham will win the race off pit road.
Yeah, good stop there for Falkingham, of course. Had the advantage coming in. And yeah, for Darling, you got to remember he had just pitted. And then he was also on cold tires on a part of the racetrack that nobody's really ran. And it just came out from under him. You also got to factor in that he's had right rear damage since lap 11 of this race. It was not looking good for Jared in that entire scenario, and his championship bid is looking pretty unfortunate at this time.
Yeah, it's just not been a good day for Jared Darling. A really good run last week at Indianapolis, and it all comes undone this evening at Texas Motor Speedway. You can see a few cars waiting on their wave around, those being Cody Miller, actually one of our championship competitors, one of our chase competitors there in the 28 car. Some more drivers coming down, TCB, Howie Briss, and Cole Freilich, and some more. But some drivers waiting on the wave around, it looks like, will include Cody Miller, Michael Keithley, Taylor Frey, maybe Sean Williams, and looks like Spencer Owens. No, Spencer Owens just got the lucky dog, so here he comes back around onto the lead lap.
Well, this may in fact be the first domino to fall to shift the tone of this race. Everyone's going to be on the same page for quite some time, really since the start of the race. We're going to see some drivers getting back up into the mix by virtue of the wave around and whatnot, and we're also going to see how hard these guys are going to push here. This is, as we mentioned, our only caution, but we have had 6 lead changes, the majority of which coming through the cycle of pit stops. We did see Hertzeg and Falkingham swap the lead 2 times amongst each other in the opening 35 or so laps. So this is going to be the first time that everybody's pretty much on some even footing. The sun has set. Track temperature is starting to change, and the complexity of this race may begin to intensify a little bit here.
Absolutely. And you think about it, if we go green to the end, we're not seeing any more pit stops. We've got a nice 20-25 lap green flag run, and the caution comes out. We'll see maybe pit stops then. But if we go green, this is it. This is straight up what you got on your car right now to the end of lap 134. Who's going to come out on top? Falkingham looks like the surefire favorite. But again, Zoltan had that short run pace, is going to be able to kind of zone that in to get up to the lead and maintain that over the course of a near 50 lap run. We'll have to see.
Yeah, out in the chat, actually, this is a great point so far by Matthew Kowal, that this is a pit stop, basically a checkpoint for these drivers, and they're good to the end. They do not have to pit again throughout the rest of the evening, so anybody who pits right here anyways does not have to pit again throughout the rest of the evening. We've seen Brett Benkari go 58 laps on a tank of fuel. These guys will have, well, it's currently 50 laps to go, so it'll be 49 laps to go at the time of the green flag coming back out. 1 caution so far this evening. We only saw 1 caution last week at Indianapolis, but the conditions, the track, everything about this week, a whole lot different. In fact, the air temp has dropped just a little bit more. It looks like track temp holding pretty steady, and the wind is still pretty steady out of the southeast, sweeping across the speedway. And I gotta say, the jury's still out on whether or not this has been, I guess, a move for the better or for the worse on the track reconfiguration. Everybody's got their own opinion about it, but this is a fine-looking facility. I've got to be honest. Whether you like the reconfiguration or not, this is a fine-looking facility, Eric, because we've got the painted blue walls with the stars all around the speedway. You got obviously the Texas turns 1, 2, 3, 4, the red stripe on top of the wall. Everything looks great as we're about to get back green flag racing. It's lap 85 coming to lap 86 of 134, and we're about to turn the field back over to the hands of Daniel Falkingham, just waiting on the signal from the pace car heading back down the pit lane. It's the sharp left turn right about there, and the whole field is in the hands of the 20 car, waiting for the restart zone. There he goes. He fires off and away. Femi Olot follows. We're back under green from Texas. Zoltan Hertzeg way up the racetrack, and we've got one spinning Anthony Emery around on the backstretch. Calamity ensuing. Only 1 or 2 cars involved, though.
I don't know how that wasn't a big wreck for a driver who has impressed us so far here throughout the night, and early glimpses here will show us what may have happened after he restarted up in the top 10. In fact, lined up in 6th at that of Anthony Emery, and he spun broadside, right side door, facing perpendicular to the oncoming field, and somehow everybody got by. Let's take a look at what happened. Looks like that bottom lane checked up, and oh, he may have got tagged there by his teammate in Ariati, and goes head on to the wall. Cole Freilich with an amazing move to avoid spearing at 44.
Amazing misses there from Howie Briss and Cole Freilich, and this one hurts as a fellow Texan who's running well in this race. Again, look at him out. He was restarting 6th, tried to get down to that bottom side. We'll get another look at it here and try to see what the checkup was all about. But you see, Falkingham got a great start, and it was Oxendine and Olot going at it for 2nd. Hertzeg trying to find his way down their 4th car in line if he could, but he stayed out there. What was the checkup all about? Oxendine looked like he had Michigan in the 1.
Chad Oxendine just checked up. Ariotti tags him. You can see the slides from everybody. He ends up just barely clipping the left rear of David Shutt and damaging that car, but everybody else scatters successfully out of turn 2 and misses the spinning 44 car. It is likely it for Anthony Emery. He may get back out there, but certainly doesn't have anything as far as points go to keep racing for. He may just decide to drop back out for the rest of the evening and take the rest of the evening to himself. Daniel Falkingham still the race leader. There goes Cole Freilich with the lucky dog. What do you say, Eric? We dial up somebody we've been talking about a lot this evening. He's got to make some big moves. He's got to put himself in a position to really capitalize on potential troubles lying ahead. That's if they ever come the way of Daniel Falkingham. Let's talk to 4th place driver Zoltan Herczeg.
We're going to bring the driver who's second in points up into the broadcast booth and hear what he has to say about how his night is unfolding thus far. Herczeg,
and I'll be honest, I'll just interrupt you. We don't have Zoltan Herczeg. Interestingly, he is not in our team speak. So I hate to interrupt you, Eric. I know you get in your groove sometimes. That plan, that's no longer a plan. Let's go a couple positions back. Somebody we don't usually talk to, Zach Lindgren, headed your way.
All right, well, that's a great opportunity to bring up. This is a name which we've heard be involved in pretty much all the contests we've had up towards the front in Zach Lindgren. Now, Zach, I know that you're trying to overcome some misfortune that plagued you at Indy last week, but you're having a great night on the track that is incredibly tough. 7th so far. How are you enjoying this track, this layout, this configuration on a night in which you're trying to make up some ground?
I enjoy this track very, very much. This track is, for some reason, has been one of my favorites. So after last week, it's just kind of a, all right, let's pick up whatever we had and get going. I mean, we're pretty much at the bottom, so the only way to go now is up. So right now, it's just a matter of keeping the car clean. We're on really cold tires, really loose tires. So right now, it's just a matter of keeping the car clean, keeping them straight, and hopefully getting ourselves up a few positions.
Now, Andrew Cornali, the 4th, and I was talking about the fact you've had a pretty busy weekend. You actually got to enjoy some of the real-life race car driving experiences. How much, if at all, is that helping you in terms of just confidence, knowing that you've got some additional expertise under your belt, or is that just an experience that you've been able to ride that high on to hopefully garner some positive momentum here tonight?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm still a little sore from it, so body-wise, I'm not all there, but as far as confidence-wise, it gives me a huge confidence boost to be able to go out in real life and actually drive a car, not stuff it in a fence or go off track. That's a huge thing, a huge confidence boost. So it definitely plays a role in the tracks. Even, it may have been a road course, but it definitely plays a role into an oval, just staying calm, staying consistent, be wary of your surroundings and knowing who's around you. But it definitely plays a role in an oval, obviously on a road course. So man, it was a really fun experience. I'm still kind of riding out that high, but it definitely was a huge confidence boost.
We all love to see stories like that, and we wish you nothing but the best. Before we get set to go back racing here for this NORC event, we started the race out with a really long green flag run, now back-to-back cautions. How do you anticipate the rest of this race unfolding, and what are you hoping for as far as results tonight?
We're better on long runs than short runs, but I feel like we're going to catch a few more cautions. People don't call this norking for no reason, so I feel like we're going to catch a few more cautions, but besides that, I'm really hoping we go green. I feel like I'm better on long runs. That's the hope anyway.
Well, we'll be watching, and we hope we have a chance to catch up with you later tonight. Zach Lindgren, you're going to restart inside of row 4. Good luck tonight, bud.
Hey, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Zach Lindgren getting wrapped up there, and he may not have spun down at CMP over the weekend for HMS Motorsport, but I do got to tell on him a little bit. We went to GoPro Motorplex last night, and he did a loop it around there, but he did a great job behind the wheel for HMS Motorsport, behind the wheel of their BMW E30, and getting out there for the first time in a race is really big, really important to him. He got out there, got his, went through the class at Skip Barber down at Road Atlanta, but getting out there and actually getting to go racing. It was really, really cool for him. A dream come true, certainly, for the driver of the 85 out of Los Lunas, New Mexico. But everybody else around him is ready to try and beat him this evening and beat him to the checkered flag first. Lap 91 underway as Daniel Falkingham gets this race back going. Once again, Zoltan Herczeg up to the top side. Chad Oxendine works down low. Everybody clean through turn 2 this time. Down to turn 3. Femi Olot's looking.
Femi Olot looking for that position up at the head of the pack. Now we start to see these two, what they have for one another here. While further behind, it looks like Ariati just washed up off the bottom of the racetrack in 5th. After trying to recover from the incident, which was not his teammate, Anthony Emery. I stand corrected on that one there, despite the cars looking identical and running the same manufacturer tonight. That Supra of Ariadne still running in the 5th spot, despite David Schuck getting a monster run off the corner, and Zach Lindgren, who we just heard from, kind of trapped up on the outside with John Berry trying to take the spot away in 3.
Yeah, this is where all the money's going to be made here, is on these restarts where the pack's all packed up. Lindgren way up the track there, and how about Visser to lead? They closed right up. Femi Olot goes purple that last time around, and he's pressuring our point leader.
Nose to tail, first and second. Lap 93 underway, and about halfway done as the 18 Interstate Battery Toyota Supra works down the backstretch. Of course, the Gibbs Gaming Esport driver. I kind of botched that one. I think it's just Gibbs Gaming, not Gibbs Gaming Esports, but Gibbs Gaming driver of Femi Olot, of course, usually spends his Tuesday evenings in the eNASCAR iRacing Coca-Cola Series, but spending it here this evening here at the NORC iRacing Series at Texas. And he's come around a few times, as we've talked about throughout the season. He's got a few wins to his name, but he wants to go out there and he wants to take another W for himself along with that checkered flag. He needs to get by Daniel Falkingham quickly, I think. Obviously, Femi's good. He's in the eNASCAR iRacing Coca-Cola Series for a reason, but I think Daniel might surprise on this long run to the end.
Daniel's doing everything he can to try to hold on at the front of the pack. However, Femi Olot, we talk about the fact that he swept Talladega Duels because that is something that is exceptionally difficult to do. Let's not forget that he also won the short track race at Iowa early in the season. Despite the fact that he has nothing to gain or lose as far as the championship is concerned, which is the polar opposite for the two drivers he's sandwiched between right now, he does have 3 wins to his credit, trying to nab a 4th one here tonight, and he is applying the pressure to Falkingham off 4.
You got to be thinking, is Zoltan Herczeg rooting for Femi Olot in this case to try to get Falkingham up out of the groove or out of the bottom side as this battle goes on? This is John Berry working his way past Freddie De La Rosa. De La Rosa trying to hang around the outside. You might have to slot in one behind the 74. And before Hayes Booth gets there, but to keep it up high, nose to tail still up front. Femi Olot just pressuring right in behind the 20.
I think Zoltan Herczeg's best case scenario is for the 18 car to get down to the bottom side of Daniel Falkingham and to move Daniel up out of that racing groove and try and close in. I think that's the best chance, and here we go. It's going to happen. Femi Olot down to the bottom side of 1 and 2, takes that spot away immediately, but it's not long enough of a battle for Zoltan Herczeg to make any moves. And honestly, if you're Daniel, Eric, you might want to sit back and let Femi do his thing. That's not the case. Daniel looks low for a moment. Femi blocks it. They stay racing to 3 and 4. And now Zoltan Herczeg is closing right in.
We know that Daniel Falkingham is someone who wants to go out and win each and every week, especially when he's going up against the caliber of a driver of that of Femi Olot. But when it comes to the season-long objective, he's doing exactly what he needs to do. Everybody who was behind him in the chase coming into the night is behind him in the running order. Zoltan Herczeg's trying to change that, though, and that car's starting to come to life here. Gets a good run off turn 2, and now Falkingham needs to start looking back in that rear view as opposed to that windshield because Herczeg is starting to come up from behind for what's going to be the running-up battle.
You got to think back to way earlier in this race when the sun was still setting. The last time Daniel Falkingham was in some severe dirty air, and of course on the pit cycle as well, but that's kind of negated with the fresh tires he had. This is, again, equal footing with the drivers around him in dirty air. This has been some time, and here comes Zoltan Herczeg trying to send it down to the inside. They go side by side in the 3. Falkingham tries to pinch him down.
Oh, the Lobster 207, first straight bait number 20, right down to the bottom side, cuts off Zoltan Herczeg's run, and gets a run of his own as well, right up to the back end of Femi Olot, the top 3 under a blanket. turn number 1. It's now lap 100. We'll come around and take 34 to go this next time by. Zoltan looks high. Now he looks low. Now Daniel covers it up down low. These guys just bobbing and weaving, ebbing and flowing for this top 3.
Gotta wonder if there's going to come to a point where this championship battle comes to a head. There's a lot of respect between these two. Add Femi Olot into the mix as well. Obviously, there's a lot of respect there, but hard racing can and oftentimes will lead to contact. Boy, I thought that Falkingham was a little bit aggressive there with his dive down to the inside across the bow of the 96. Take away any opportunity for some clean air on the nose of that Chevy in third. And we'll see if Herczeg will take exception to that, as he's right on the rear spoiler in 3 as this fight rages on, and Femi Olot is loving it out the rear view.
Getting closer to 30 to go. You see the whole top 10 rather spread out here, Emerson. Gotta wonder, does anybody from that group further back capitalize on these guys battling? Do they move through this field? If anybody's going to do it, it's got to be Chad Oxendine or David Schutt.
Absolutely. Chad Oxendine was the driver we saw work his way forward on the long run. If we go green to the end here, Chad Oxendine has already proven once they can get up here and duke it out with this caliber of drivers, and a huge block behind. But Chad Oxendine, again, the driver who's looking forward. He's in relatively clean air compared to, the drivers ahead of him that are in a tight battle, but he's got David Schutt, Zach Lindgren behind that are looking to follow suit with Oxendine. We'll see as the run goes on.
Oxendine, sporting the new paint scheme, moved on from Frank's Red Hot on over to this beautiful number 66 with Summer Shandy on the side. I gotta say, it's a pretty good summertime drink, summertime beverage. It's pretty solid and looks good under the lights this evening as the Valvoline number 5 bears down on him. But you got to consider, again, Zach Lindgren sitting back here in 6th place. We know he's better than 6th. We just haven't seen him battle with David Schutt yet. Haven't seen him battle much with Ariotti either. Maybe not even with Chad Oxendine. So he's around drivers he hasn't battled yet that have moved up from further in the field. Can he get by them? Only time will tell, but he might have a top 5 still in him as he sits in 6th. These top 3 will not back away from one another. Daniel Falkingham still working on Femi Olot.
I'm not quite sure who may have the best long-run car of this group. I do know that Femi Olot was on a steady and constant climb through the field in order to get up to where he is now. The caution may have helped stabilize that just a little bit here, but we seem to maybe be trending towards a bit of a green flag run at this point in the race. Let's knock on wood that I didn't just jinx that, because this race at the front of the pack amongst these top 3 has been fun to watch. Falkingham did open up a bit of an advantage over Herczeg before that first green flag stop, but at this point, with these track conditions, these 3 are seemingly evenly matched for the time being as they accordion together off turn 4 to put another lap on the board.
As we go deeper and deeper into this run, later in this race, we're going to see who's putting the most steering input into wheels right now, and I think that's going to be the telltale of who goes on and wins this race if we stay green the way we are. Again, Zoltan Herczeg was the one struggling earlier in the race, but this is, again, for the first time in a long time, Falkingham in dirty air. And, I mean, we'll have to see it. It's not even that he has a pace advantage to that dirty air as well.
From the back, Zach Lindgren still working the top side as I think Chad Oxendine is starting to close in a little bit and bring these guys with. Now Lindgren looks down low of David Schutt, pokes the nose in, and Schutt has to concede the bottom line, but does not concede the position. Hangs on tough up top. We've seen Lindgren use the top side to his own advantage. Now it's getting used against him a little deeper in this top 10. Back at the back end of the top 10, you got John Barry hanging on to a position over Brett Pancari, but this stuff up front is just too good to leave.
It's very hard to take our eyes off any of this stuff that is happening up inside the top 10. And Zach Lindgren told us he thinks that he has a good long-run car. Didn't get the drive off of turn 4 that he wanted. Here comes Ariotti down to the inside after he lost a few spots after the restart. But look at Lindgren carry the momentum up top here on the outside of turn number 2, trying to get a good run up towards the back bumper of that 23. And I'm a little bit surprised that Freddie De La Rosa's charge has kind of stalled in the 8th spot. I thought for sure he'd be up towards the top 5 by now after he rocketed his way up through the pack, but he started ending your picture there on the right side of your frame. He too wants to get in this fight as we got more battles going on here with John Berry and Brent Pancari. This would be for the final spot in the top 10.
Spencer Owens working on Pancari for 11th, and Barry hangs on to 10th for now. as it looks like the 35 car backs up to the nose of the 12 car just a little bit. This is the first battle outside the top 10. Bobby Chaney also working on Sheldon Locke, and you can see this is a great perspective as to everything happening throughout the top 10 ahead. The leader's starting to check out, almost out of frame, but those guys battling with Freddie D and Zach Lindgren, they are still going at it. In fact, Ariati is now on the outside of Lindgren, who's working the bottom, right on that white line that I mentioned earlier is so tough to get down to and to run right on. Look how close they exited turn 2. Lindy's still working the bottom side, Ariati up top.
It's about the tightest we've seen somebody try to hold a driver down to the bottom. What we just saw Adi do to Lindgren there in 1 and 2 leaves a little bit more space here in 3 and 4. And De La Rosa is going to jump up and try to make that outside work. We've seen this outside work in inconsistent fashion, but it looks as though that these two are going to try to make some moves here on that top side. Adi a little bit loose there on corner entry. He's got Lindgren cleared as they come off the corner, and De La Rosa is going to try to make a carbon copy move on Lindgren as well on the high side. Pin Lindgren down, and he's going to concede defeat there. Midway down the back straightaway, you saw Lindgren pedal it and fall back in line. He'll lose 2 spots in the last lap, but De La Rosa's not done working that high side.
Yeah, this is not what I've expected from Zach Lindgren to fall down to 8th the way he was running earlier, but De La Rosa to the inside of Ariati into turn number 1. He'll try to get himself clear, but Ariati hangs on that quarter panel now. De La Rosa is cleared through 1 and 2, and there is some hidden speed, not so hidden speed at this point because Harvard's made it work on that outside in 1 and 2, and it's all coming down to how you execute it, how you set yourself up for 1 and 2 on entry, and that's where you're really going to be able to get that speed on the exit. You've seen Lindgren be able to do it, we've seen Hertzeg be able to do it, and a couple other drivers use it to other drivers as advantages here. If you ride on board with Freddie De La Rosa, he looks for a potential top 5.
And Freddie D only has 1 championship in all of his time in NORC, 12 wins to boot. That 1 championship back in Season 7. He didn't win at Texas, so I think that might have helped, but also it was in the current, at that point in time, NASCAR Xfinity Series cars. There's something to Freddie De La Rosa and running these Xfinity Series cars. It just seems to work, and especially with the switch lately towards these cars really demanding a lot of driver talent in NASCAR. I think it makes sense that he is rising to the occasion. First start all season, and he is showing potentially race-winning speed if these guys ever get punched back up. We'll have 20 laps to go this time, Eric, and he is moving forward. Our race leader still locked in this little nose-to-tail formation. Olot leading over Daniel Falkingham.
No, Olot has not been able to shake Falkingham, and I have to pose the question now. What is your agenda for Daniel Falkingham? You came into the night with about a 27-point buffer over the car chasing you, Zoltan Hertzeg. Do you really want to force the issue and try to go for win number 8, or do you just let Femi Olot set sail, let him stack another W in the win column, and you know that you'll collect max points over the rest of the competition en route to perhaps the biggest wild card on this schedule, the Bristol Dirt Race, 1 week from tonight? Or is Falkingham purely set on trying to gain as much as he can in the championship by getting up to and around one of the most decorated drivers in the field in Femi Olot? I guess we're about to find out, because money time is just around the corner, and there are more drivers who are not done trying to pick up spots. You just got a glimpse of John Berry getting around Hayes Booth. Hertzeg is falling off the rear tailpipe of Falkingham, making it a 2-car race in the closing laps.
And this is not what Zoltan Hertzeg wanted to see. That Falkingham, I don't think is content, but I don't think is, pushing himself as hard as he'd need to try to get it from Femi Olot. I think he's kind of waiting right now, trying to see if he can keep his tires happy through the rest of this race. There's still 17 laps to go before Falkingham really has, 17 laps to go before the end of this race, so Falkingham still has some time, but what this is doing is just putting 2 cars in front of Zoltan, wearing out those tires a little bit more, and Zoltan's just kind of watch him drive away from him, and not a whole lot he can do about it now, trying to hold off a incoming Chad Oxendine.
This race has clicked away really, really quickly, but these last 20 or so laps are going to be the longest for each of these drivers in the field. So much looms in the balance for each and every one of these drivers in the chase, and they've all got to try and make up everything they can, and even drivers outside the chase. So much looms for their season. This is the last, I think, normal kind of racetrack, if you could call it that, before we get a string of 3 that are really going to shake things up, and then 2 relatively calm intermediates to finish up the season. But Bristol, Dirt, Darlington, Phoenix going to shake things up these next few rounds. So this is the last chance to really easily get a lot of points if you're really good on intermediate tracks before unloading at Chicagoland much deeper in the fall. And Femi Olot is taking this potential win away from everybody else. I think Zoltan Herczeg, Chad Oxendine are the only other two that you could talk about being in an opportunity to try and get up there and gain points on Daniel Falkingham. Otherwise, I think you've got to assume that Falkingham is a lock at least for the driver to beat. Whether or not he wins, the driver to beat certainly for the rest of the races on the schedule.
And he's still, planting his flag in the ground, I would say, of Daniel Falkingham, even if he stays in his second spot. It's also worth noting that Chad Oxendine is having a great comeback after what was some bad luck at Indy. But we're not quite done shuffling the deck just yet. With about 15 laps to go, coming up on 14 laps to go, Herczeg, unfortunately, is falling a little bit too far back here. We're pretty much just one caution away, though, from this thing going haywire. And by how close some of the battles are throughout the entire field, I would not necessarily rule that out just yet, especially as this run starts to wane long enough for handling to start to come into play. And how about this? Herczeg slides up the racetrack, is going to let Oxendine go. Does he have something for the top two here? And you said it, Emerson. That 66 car comes alive in the latter stages of a run. We're right about there.
How about this battle? De La Rosa sends it down to the inside of David Shutt, but watching David Shutt this race, he's put on brilliant defenses tonight, and he's doing another one right here on De La Rosa, but De La Rosa gets the run out of 4. He'll come up alongside. This might be race over. We'll see if Shutt can put up the fight through one hill. Looks like he'll give way and lose the top 5 position for now, but Chad Oxendine will look too soon. Might have something for Falkingham and Olot.
Let's not forget that David Shutt is a key component of this championship battle, this chase here in NORC Season 13. However, we're coming around to, 12 laps to go this time by Chad Oxendine. Suddenly on a tear, he's going faster than the 2 cars ahead by about a 10th a lap, it seems. He's continuing to just chip away at that lead. That time evens back out. A little bit slower than Femi Olot, but a little bit faster than Daniel Falkingham. In fact, by equal margins. Slower than Femi and faster than Falkingham. It's a 3/100th of a second margin between those 3 drivers that last lap. And things, again, ebbing and flowing, bobbing and weaving a little bit as far as these times go. Daniel, you could tell from here, that 20 car was yawed out in 3 and 4. He was going a little bit sideways that time across the stripe. Back to Oxendine being just a little bit faster. Not quite a 10th, but darn close.
I'm really able to keep that car pinned down on the bottom of the racetrack here. One other element of this night that we started 29 cars. We really haven't seen a lot of lap traffic. It wasn't until we were in the midst of the cycle here as Herczeg is continuing to fall further back here as we're coming up on 10 to go. Freddie De La Rosa, his rise up to the field, it's continuing. He's on the inside of Herczeg here for what is a race report at the start-finish line. Herczeg had it by a half a car length at the stripe, but it appears as though we're at the point where Herczeg is starting to lose the head on that car, and some of the others, like Oxendine, like De La Rosa, they're starting to come alive here at just the right time, but is it enough for them to get up there and mix it up with Olot and Falkingham for the top 2 spots?
You'll have to see. I think there's 2 little laps remaining in this race, but if these 3 get to battling, that can then open the door. But Herczeg on a free fall through the running order is not what he needs. David Shutt looking to take that spot as well. Femi Olot loving every bit of it. See now Falkingham's blue number 20 gets smaller and smaller in the rear view mirror as the laps tick down and the single digit laps remaining. And coming around to 8 laps to go, but he's got a train of cars at different paces working down the back straightaway.
That last time through, things kind of evened out. Femi Olot, Daniel Falkingham, just 5/1000ths of a second apart, and Oxendine a little bit slower. In fact, that holds true this next time around. 18/100ths that time for Olot and Falkingham, and a little bit further back to Oxendine. So that little bit of resurgence we saw out of the 66 car here, Eric, starting to fall away. What I do see up ahead of these drivers, though, is one certain 28 car by the name of Cody Miller in front of these guys. He is slower. I don't see any damage for him. Maybe a little bit to his right rear, just off pace right now after his Daytona win. And there's Cody Miller. There we go. You can see the gap back to those guys behind.
They are on the way, and this might just spice things up.
Yeah,
mentioned that lap traffic has not really been a factor.
Oh!
Wow. Did he just grenade the motor there?
No, that was just him getting that sideways.
Wow, that was an unbelievable save. I saw the smoke from the rear bumper of that car, and he apparently is battling a very loose condition. That definitely got the heart rate up on the leaders as they're going to catch him even quicker than what we anticipated, and that may tighten up the field even more so here. It's 2 car lanes to separate Olot and Falkenham, with Miller just ahead.
That last time around, Oxendine, the last 2 laps, Oxendine's been faster than the top 2 now. They catch up to the lap traffic. Cody Miller will let everyone by relatively easily. That's going to compromise Oxendine's exit. This could hurt. Here comes De La Rosa trying to take a podium spot.
It didn't look too bad, actually, for Oxendine that time through. Just had to stay off of the 28 car a little bit as these guys all kind of close together. How about this? 5 laps to go, and the entire top 4 is separated by less than 9/10 of a second. Not sure exactly who can make any kind of moves, but they're just getting closer and closer and closer and closer. That time through, Oxendine a little bit faster than the 2 cars ahead, but we're talking about inches that he's gaining a lap. Meanwhile, Freddie De La Rosa right to the back end of the 66 car. He's got something for 3rd.
Starting to see Oxendine wiggle a little bit off the corner, and as things tighten up for 3rd, things tighten up for the lead as well. Have to wonder if Falkenham falling back earlier was perhaps him taking a little bit of a breather, trying to cool his jets for this. A late charge on what could be a battle for win number 8 for Falkenham, while Herzog is mired back in 5th. I think Falkenham has his agenda set, and here comes De La Rosa on Oxendine for 3rd.
He'll send it down to the inside. He'll power by to 66. This might be a little too late for a race win for De La Rosa, but he will try 3 laps to go from Lone Star State.
Just getting closer and closer and closer. Continuing to chip away at these guys up ahead. Oxendine now sliding a little bit. Stays within a second of these drivers, but this entire top 4 has gotten much closer, now within 2/3 of a second, and you can see Freddie is just continuing to gain down the backstretch. Will come around and take popsicle sticks this time by.
While every point and every position matters for Falkenham right now, he doesn't have to spend too much time worrying about Freddie De La Rosa. He's not in the chase either. He can let those 2 go and tussle it out for the race lead and win. Maybe take each other out here, but time is running out. Who to go? Olot, the leader. Falkenham in 2nd. On board with De La Rosa, who's got the best run of them all in 3rd. What can he do on the backstretch?
The top 3 nose to tail with a lap and a half to go from Texas. Here comes De La Rosa to the inside. He might have something for this win, but he's got to get around Falkenham. They go toe-to-toe in turn 3. Falkenham keeps the pace up on the outside. Side by side as we turn 4 now. De La Rosa with the nose out in front. They're going to take the white flag.
The white flag presented by Tucson Sound Art falls upon the Texas Motor Speedway. Down to turns 1 and 2. It's a lunge from Freddie D. Right to the back end of Femi Olot. 2 of the best drivers to ever do it in the NORC iRacing Series. Side by side, they'll go down to turn number 3. And Freddie De La Rosa has got the bottom side at Texas. He's to the inside of Femi Olot. He's somehow never won here before. But out of turn 3 and 4, Olot in the wall, and it's Freddie D back to victory lane, ties it back up with Zoltan Herzog.
My oh my, rewind the tape, because I'm pretty sure that I said De La Rosa was going to be one of the guys to watch tonight, as if it wasn't the most obvious statement of the evening. And how about that? Gets by Falkenham, coming to the white flag, makes the move off the exit of turn number 2, and gets the lead away from Femi Olot. And unfortunately for Olot, that contact with the wall coming to the checkered flag may have cost him a podium spot there. We'll have to see how the results shake out. Falkenham, 2nd. Great wings night for him. Freddie De La Rosa back to victory lane in NORC, and what a finish between 2 of the best to ever do it in NORC.
I think that's a point in the column for the reconfig of Texas and the raceability that was on both ends of the speedway, especially for this 29 car of Freddie De La Rosa, and the amazing run he put on today, and especially there at the end. I mean, powering by some of the fastest and most consistent drivers in the series to take the win in the final corner.
Through some of the rest of the field, things holding pretty steady. Spencer Owens did fall quite a lot late in the race, but stays in the lead lap. That keeps Brett Pancari within the top 10. and most everybody else sorting out into some of the same positions they held throughout the course of the evening. Lindgren holds on to a top 10, along with Schutt, who finishes 6th. Somehow, Zoltan Herczeg stops the bleeding, finishes in the top 5, while just a couple of tenths over that of David Schutt, but that does it. That's 134 laps in the books, and oh my goodness, what a finish. What do you say we rewind just a little bit and take another look at that finish? That was incredible stuff up front.
I mean, we obviously didn't want to count out Freddie De La Rosa at any point, but we saw the separation get a little bit too large, and that contact with the wall, that was just Ola trying to keep his foot in it as long as he possibly could in order to make it to the start-finish line and maybe offer up a chance. But we'll go back here. This is the runoff turn 2. This is where De La Rosa gets a good launch here on Falkingham, and Daniel fought him a good ways here in the 3. I thought this was going to stall out Freddie enough to prevent him an opportunity to go after the race leader and Olaf, but he's able to clear Daniel here at the start-finish line, and turns 1 and 2, that was the best that anybody, I think, Emerson has gotten through that corner all night.
Absolutely, and I have to eat my words. I thought there wasn't enough time for De La Rosa. I thought he always had the pace. I just didn't think he had the laps, but he did it by the end of lap 154, and that amazing run through 1 and 2. I mean, he just pulls up alongside Femi here in the 3 and 4, and I mean, the bottom side's just going to win out here, and then Femi got on the gas just a little too early, just trying to keep that car pinned down to the inside, and Femi just misses the bottom there. He's going to slide up the track and eat a wall.
You can see Femi Olot up the racetrack, one of the few mistakes we've ever seen him make, and look at how close Daniel was to hitting him. That might have opened the door for Chad across the line. Chad does sneak away with a podium, but oh my goodness, Freddie De La Rosa winning this evening from the Texas Motor Speedway. There is a lot to talk about, a lot to follow here for post-race coverage, a lot to hear from with these drivers. Still cannot believe what we were just witness to. Cannot believe it one bit, but we've got to, because Freddie De La Rosa is back in NORC iRacing Series Victory Lane, and we are going to talk to him. Stand by, post-race coverage on the way from Texas.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Sound Art introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of 2 products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. Sound Art ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
Welcome back to the virtual Texas Motors Speedway. I do have to say, unfortunately, it looks like we don't have Freddie De La Rosa to speak with this evening, but he does tie up Zoltan Herczeg, and I can only imagine how he's got to feel about tying back up in fourth place on the all-time NORC win list. It's got to feel pretty good for the driver of the 29. However, that opens things up, of course, to speak with second-place finisher Daniel Falkingham. And Daniel, usually when we bring you in the booth first, it's because you just won a race. It's not quite a win, though, this evening. But what a drive to come from behind and move you up out of the way from Freddie De La Rosa, yet you still finish second.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, you guys probably be shocked when I say this, but that's probably one of my worst races of the whole season right there. I mean,
that's incredible. You say it's the worst race you've had all year, and you finished second. And you led 66 laps.
Yeah, here's the thing. I mean, when the race started out, we were just cruising out front, trying to take care of my stuff, and we were just fine. And then the yellow started coming out, so we had to do a restart. And Femi and Freddie, they were coming from the back, so I'd hold them off. Because the thing is, I guess Femi underfueled on that last pit stop we had, so which made his car a little bit tighter, which means he could take off a bit more, especially on the short run. Because we were like on cold tires, we were just sliding everywhere. We really couldn't get up to half throttle because tires were so cold and they weren't up to temperature, so we were just sliding. So I was trying to take care of that, and then Femi just could be on the power a lot more, so I let him go. But what really screwed me was I was too focused on racing Zoltan, but once I cleared Zoltan, I was stuck behind Femi, and I was stuck in his dirty air, and I was pushing so hard to try to get back around him. He could just cruise out front. Meanwhile, I was just destroying all my stuff behind him. So that was pretty much, I think, my downfall to this race. So that sucked. But, I mean, the most important thing, I guess, is we still finished second. We still beat Zoltan, and I think we're going to increase our lead a little bit. So it's fun, but considering how this race played out, I'm really disappointed we didn't win that race because there's definitely a lot of stuff we could have done different, which I need to know for next time. So definitely not a good drive by me for the most part.
I love it. You still finished second place. You led half the race, and you're so... You want to strive to do better, and you're here critiquing your race immediately after the checkers. Let's talk then about the rest of the season. 5 races to go, beginning next week at Bristol on the dirt. You've got a 30-point lead. You've got to feel pretty safe.
Yeah, I feel good. I mean, I guess like the only good thing that came out of this race is I beat Zoltan and I increased the points lead a bit. Because I know I have zero confidence going to Bristol Dirt. I honestly hope I just finish top 10 is probably going to be my goal. Because I don't know really how my dirt racing prowess is. I mean, we've all seen what I could do on the road courses and stuff, but dirt racing is a whole different beast. So definitely look, I mean, it's going to be interesting next week. But hopefully we can show up and we can do something to hopefully maintain our gap, because I feel like for whatever reason Zoltan's going to be flying next week, because I don't know, he's good in everything it seems like. So we'll give it our best shot next week, but hopefully just going to enjoy the points that I have right now, because it's probably not going to be like that next week.
Well, you could skip next week and still come out ahead, I do believe, or at least pretty darn close to it. Maybe come out even then with Zoltan Herczeg. You've got to be feeling pretty good. Who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out this evening, getting it done again, leading half the race, buddy? I don't know how you do it, and you still finish second place. Who do you have to thank?
Yeah, I'm just going to thank you guys for on the broadcast. You guys kill it all the time with these broadcasts. Definitely going to go back and watch it. That was probably a good finish for you guys to watch. So thanks to you guys. I got to thank John Barry for running the show, for running the league. Thanks to everyone who comes out and races each and every week to make these races a blast. Shout out to Freddie for winning the race. Shout out to Femi, Zoltan, and Chad that race there at the end. Definitely wish I could have done a little bit better to beat them, but that's all right. That was still a blast. Got to thank my personal sponsors for sure, Baby Lobster 207. Got to thank all the fans who come out and watch us each and every week, and got to thank all my friends and family who are watching as well.
Daniel Falkingham getting things done once again. It's not a race win, but it's pretty darn close to it. Just 2/10 back, buddy. Congratulations on another podium and lengthening that championship lead. We'll see you next week at Bristol.
All right, thanks, Andrew.
Daniel Falkingham getting things done and wrapping things up just ahead of somebody in a brand new paint scheme here, Eric, and it served him well.
I mean, I got to admit, this is going to go down as one of my personal favorite looks and designs of the 2021 NORC season. Chad Oxendine, fresh off his third place finish, which he just got at the checkered flag. And Chad, first off, hats off for the beautiful car and beautiful design. That's a personal favorite of mine, but we'll save the details a little bit later on. This is a family show, of course. However, after the start of the chase that you had at Indy, I know that you weren't happy, of course, by losing a number of spots there. You want to come out here on an intermediate track, which have served you well throughout the 2021 campaign so far, and put together a good run. You did just that. You got off strategy early, though, and you were able to lead a number of laps to kick things off, 10 as a matter of fact. Were you hoping that the race stayed green throughout the end there? Did you have the secret recipe, perhaps, to outsmart the field and get a solid result, or are you happy with the way this race shook down?
Yeah, I wanted to get off strategy with Daniel because he was fastest, throughout the race. I felt like I was pretty even with him on the long run, but I don't think it was going to be a winning strategy. I think once Daniel passed me about, 15, 20 laps after I pitted again, he had probably the winning strategy, but I think second or third is about where I was going to end up either way. So I'm not mad how it played out. I felt quick tonight, just about as quick as them guys. Definitely on the longer run, I felt like I was a little quicker or even with them. So I'm happy with how it ended up.
Credit Emerson Arden for being one of the first to point out how good this car was on the long run. And was that the difference there at the end? It looked as though as the lap started to wind down, the top four especially, not to kick Zoltan too far out of the club, but the top four looked really evenly matched. I mean, did you need those guys to mix it up just a little bit more, or did you need that long run at the end to be just a little bit longer?
Yeah, for sure. It could have been a little bit longer, and they could have mixed it up a little bit too. That's kind of what I was hoping for. I seen Freddie was just flying there at the end. He must have saved way more than everyone else. I felt like I did a pretty good job, but he did a pretty great job. But I was hoping to kind of just let him go, and he'd mix it up, and maybe we could slide on through there and, maybe pick off a win. But yeah, a few more laps, a little more mixing up with them leaders, with Femi and Daniel, and who knows how it could have shook out.
The term agenda comes up in some of these races, especially when you got guys like Freddie and Femi coming in who have nothing to gain or lose as far as the championship is concerned. A podium finish tonight, especially coming off of the disappointment at Indianapolis last week, obviously something to be proud of. But is it mixed emotions because that 20 car, who was the guy that you're trying to gain maximum ground on in this championship, came up one spot ahead of you? Is it tough to outweigh the overall objective of the night versus trying to beat one driver specifically?
I don't let any of that bother me. I was actually just happy to be as fast as him tonight. I felt like I was on a level playing field. It seems like some weeks Daniel's, far and away the best car out there, and you just need strategy or better tires to beat him. So I felt good just being up there in the mix tonight. Points will fall where they fall. If I just do the best I can do, that's all I can do really. So I'm happy with the night. Next week's Bristol. We're on dirt. Anything can happen there. I think we can win there. And you never know what can happen. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of carnage next week. And that's kind of what I probably need to get caught back up after Indy. So, but we'll just do the best we can, run fast, and wherever the points fall, they fall. I'll be good with it either way.
You kind of touched on my next year. I don't know if you had a chance to hear Daniel Falkingham's interview, but he seems a little bit weary about next week, almost considering a bit of a throwaway for him as far as points are concerned. He's not all that confident going into what's the biggest wild card in this chase. You have a reputation as one of the best short track racers in the group. Your confidence seems to be pretty high. Is that because you've logged some laps there on the Bristol dirt surface? You just know how well you are on the short tracks? What is giving you perhaps a little bit of a mental advantage heading into next week's wild card on the Bristol dirt track?
Yeah, I had that one circled myself. That's the one I've been most excited for out of the whole chase. So, yeah, I'm ready to go. I know when the fixed season was back there in March or April, whenever they were at the dirt track, I ran pretty good, but it wasn't in the Xfinity car. So I'm curious to see what kind of setup John Barry got for us for that race next week and to test it out. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, Eric. I can't wait. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. You can kind of run low, run up at the cushion, just hopefully we get some green flag laps in there and we're not running under yellow the whole time.
You were certainly one to watch tonight. We can anticipate you're certainly going to be one to watch next week when we get to Bristol. Before we let you go, though, yet another podium on the season, as we mentioned. Also, your 7th top 5 on the season. Chad, who do you have to thank? Who makes it possible for you?
Well, thank all my family and friends that tune in and watch and root for me each week. Thank you guys at Pit Stop TV for the great broadcast. John Barry for letting us do this every Tuesday night. And just for everyone that tunes in and watches your broadcast, thank you for watching.
Well, we appreciate you being a part of it, Chad. It's because of drivers like you who make this so much fun. And we appreciate your time, of course. Congratulations on a strong finish. And hopefully we'll be talking to you again next week.
Yeah, hope so, Eric. Thank you much. Y'all have a good week. And like I said, hopefully we'll talk to you in Victory Lane next week.
Chad Oxendine has set his goal 1 week from tonight for the Bristol Dirt Race. It's going to be a race that you do not want to miss, and he will be taking his 3rd place finish and a lot of momentum on his side there. It's what will be the 3rd race of the chase. Chad Oxendine, your 3rd place finisher here tonight in Texas. Now, I believe we did. In fact, we do have a driver lined up for Emerson Arden to catch up with. It's a name in which we've not had a chance to hear from all that much in recent weeks, but he's been a fixture on the NORC slate. I'm going to turn it over now to Emerson Arden, who's going to catch up with Sean Williams to wrap up our interview round.
Yeah, again, this driver, playoff driver coming into today's race, 7th in points. He'll maintain that 7th place standing after having a hard-fought day, starting 26th, way deep in the running order. He'll end up with a 12th place finish. Sean, again, a hard-fought day here at the Reconfigure at Texas. What's your take on it?
Man, this car was terrible. But I'm glad everything worked out at the end with the cautions and stuff. That saved me.
Absolutely. I'm sure a lot of drivers were happy to see that caution. It kind of made the strategy element, kind of took away the strategy element, put everybody on the same footing. When you got on the same footing after, running 80, 90 laps of this race, how did you feel you really stacked up against this field? Do you think you finished where you should have, or do you think there's more in that car? How do you feel?
I should have finished at least like 20th or something. There's no way I should have got up to 12th. I struggled. I couldn't. My line, I think, was fine, but it was the setup. It was, for me, real tight on entry and then pretty loose on exit, which I was fine with the looseness, but I don't know, man. This car was just, it was terrible. And I don't like this version of Texas either, so I was just kind of suffering through it. I definitely shouldn't be 12th.
Nonetheless, you'll come across the line in P12. You will gain a spot on Jared Darling in the playoff standings, but you'll lose a spot to Chad Oxendine, so you'll stay 7th, and you'll go from 49 points back of Falcon to 66. But how do you feel about your chances as we head to the dirt at Bristol?
That's going to be, I don't know, I think an anything goes race. I cannot predict what's going to happen. I did do NIS when we went there, and I somehow finished 4th with 0 X's. I have no idea how, so I'm hoping that kind of luck is going to stick with me, and we'll have a good race. But I'm excited for it, but I have no idea what's going to happen there.
You're a lucky one to get 0x at Bristol.
Yeah, I don't know how it happened.
But all right, Sean, we're gonna let you go here. But before we do, we're gonna give you the floor here to shout out whoever we're gonna shout out. Thank you, everybody, to thank for making things happen for you.
Well, first off, thanks for Revan for putting on the league. I've been running with these guys for a very long time, and I love it. Thanks to y'all for your excellent broadcast, as always. Everybody who shows up and races each week, everybody watching, and TCB for bringing me one of the worst cars I've ever had.
Oh, man. All right. We're going to leave it to it. Once again, Sean Williams, 12th place finisher. After starting 26, I think that's a commendable effort. Once again, best luck to you next week at Bristol Dirt, and hopefully we're talking to you then.
Thank you very much. Take it easy, guys.
Sean Williams wrapping things up with a 12th place effort. It sounds like there was some mixing up further back, and this might be part of it. It sounds like, from some drivers' posts in the NORC Facebook group, that maybe something happened with Hayes Booth and Cody Miller. This is Hayes Booth with a few laps to go. You can see he's battling here with Brett Pincari. This is a little ways to the end of the race. At this point, Cody Miller is up ahead and, maybe behind. I'm not really sure. That actually seems like it might be behind. And it seems like that car is clean, but nonetheless, we'll watch along as we start to go through results here, Eric, and if something pops up, we will see it. Of course, there's only so much we can catch in the moment when it happens, right? We've got almost 30 cars in the racetrack, and they're all spread out across the entire mile and a half, and it's really hard to be in every place at once. But if something does happen here, I want to go ahead and cover it. Meanwhile, of course, Freddie De La Rosa leading one lap in the margin of just 0.2 of a second gets the win over Daniel Falkingham after upsetting and moving Femiola up back to fourth. You can see Chad Oxenreiter right in the middle there in third. Zoltan Hergzeg takes home fifth. David Schutt 6th, Ariati 7th, Zach Lindgren 8th, John Barry 9th, and Brett Pancari rounds out your top 10, winning that battle over Hayes Booth.
Second page of results now will show us the drivers 11 through 20th. Sheldon Lockey didn't call his name a lot tonight. 11. Sean Williams, we just heard from in 12th. Michael Keithley stayed out of trouble all night. 13th. Hayes Booth, as we're probably going to see, swept up in an incident late in the going in 14th spot. Colt Freilich rallied back from early race damage and going a lap down for 15th spot, right where he started, matching the car number. Spencer Owens, last car on the lead lap in 16th. Tom Mercier, Howie Briss, Taylor Frey, only cars one lap down. And Cody Miller, who we saw struggling with the handle in that car late, 20th, 2 laps off the leaders.
Looks like I get the heartbreak page back here with TCB coming home in 21st, 3 laps down. Anthony Emery in 22nd, 4 laps down. They were joking about having a great race. I imagine there was a great battle for 21st. Ended up like that. Bobby Chaney will not finish this race. He'll be 17 laps down in 23rd. Jared Washawn 45 down in 24th. Jared Darling bringing out the one and only caution this evening will finish 59 laps down in 25th. Will Klein 26th. Tommy Goss at 27th. Patrick Colby 28th. And Josh Robin 29th. Involved in a very early contact with John Barry, Jared Darling, and others on lap 11.
Yeah, it sounded like some guys had troubles very early in the race, and it just happened, again, out of our camera shot. There's only so much you can watch at any one point in time, but we watched a lot of great battling throughout the course of the evening. And I gotta say, Eric, it was good to have everybody back here. It's been an interesting summer. We've moved some pieces around and obviously had a different crew sometimes each week, but it's been really good to get back to our normal crew and a bit of normalcy going into the chase here, and there is a lot that is heating up. Firstly, I do want to thank our partners here at Pit Stop TV, of course, Tucson Sound Art, where your picture is your music. Use promo code PitStopTV at checkout for 10% off of your order of your wall-mounted sound art device today. I've got one hanging up behind me, and believe me, it is a fantastic product. It's essentially a Bluetooth speaker wrapped up in a beautiful canvas. You choose what goes on it. It will look fantastic. It sound great too. And it is so easy to put up on your wall. It literally took me maybe 10 minutes between opening it and getting it on the wall and getting it charging. And you can actually battery power it as well. It's up to you if you want to put batteries in it, charge it, whatever you want to do works with the device. Personally, I like to charge it. I like to just unplug it when I need to, listen to some great tunes, and, honestly, do a lot of my work here for a lot of the stuff that we have going throughout the week on Pit Stop TV. It's fantastic for that. Sometimes these over-the-ear headphones get kind of sweaty or whatever. You just get tired of wearing them. Having a wall-mounted sound art device right behind me helps a lot. I also want to give a big shout-out to Race Pace Setups. They're the official road setup provider of Pit Stop TV. A lot of great stuff coming out of that camp. A lot to be happy with over at Race Pace Setups if you're Tyler Campbell or anybody else with that program, and certainly a lot to head over to their Discord for today. A big shout out goes out to Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. These guys are doing a lot of great work up in the state of Maine, right in Daniel Falkingham's neck of the woods. Maybe if he's feeling a little bit tight after one of these races, he can go free himself up with some cryotherapy potentially at Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. They've got plenty of locations to do it throughout the great state of Maine. You've got Naples, Saco, Lewiston, Auburn, Harrison, Maine. Plenty of locations to go check out and see what they can do for you, because of course you deserve the best care that money could buy. Let's also not forget Whiplash Media, the official graphic and camera provider of Pit Stop TV and BAM Racing videos by a race fan for the racing community. And a shout out to this guy as well. He recently got to go out. Now, he didn't get to go film at Bowman Gray, but he got to go visit Bowman Gray, and he is aspiring to bring you some videos from Bowman Gray one day. He's got a lot going on his plate each and every week. A lot of great content over on the BAM Racing Videos YouTube channel and Facebook page. You better check it out and tell him that we sent you. Eric, 134 laps, 200 miles, thereabouts. Yeah, 200 miles, maybe a little bit of extra change. And what a wild day.
Again, the NORC drivers just never cease to amaze me. We talked about it in the lead-in. We've gone to some very tough tracks where I thought the over-under on cautions was going to be give or take 6 to 8, and we didn't even come close to that here. We only had a couple of yellows throughout the night. Yet again, we saw the same thing at Dover. We saw a lone caution at Indy. The timing of the yellows here kind of took away the element of strategy, but I think at the end of the night, the fastest car did get to victory lane in Freddie De La Rosa. The way in which he was able to get up there and navigate his way through the top 3 in the waning laps, very impressive. Sad we didn't get a chance to hear from him. Femi Olot was up there in the mix off the final corner, and Daniel Falkingham continues to do Daniel Falkingham things. And it's going to be fun to see if that trend continues on here, as we see a point in this event here where Miller ended up catching the wall. I believe this may have been coming to the last couple laps to go, but this race had everything you could expect from a NORC broadcast on Pit Stop TV. It was fun. It was surprisingly quick, as we're 10 minutes shy of the 9 o'clock hour here on the East Coast, and it left us lingering and wanting more, and I can't wait to get to Bristol next week, Emerson.
There's a lot to watch for through the coming weeks. Again, Bristol coming up next on the NORC slate, and then, of course, on down through the rest of the order. You got Darlington, Phoenix, onto the couple of finishers at Chicagoland and Las Vegas. A lot to watch for, Eric and Emerson, and I think potentially next week might be the most anticipated race of the calendar. I know NORC is incredible at places like Talladega, Daytona, of course. Those are their bread and butter. The short tracks are a lot of fun. They get rough and tumble and tempers flare, but changing things up, an ambitious move to go on dirt with cars that have not been on dirt in real life, that's going to shake things up next week and seriously change up the playoffs, not the playoff structure, but the chase structure.
Absolutely. I've been privy to broadcast Xfinity Dirt Race last year, and I mean it was an absolute blast to say the least. But again, that was before iRacing implemented dirt tires, and that was also open setup. This is fixed setup. These drivers are not going to be able to tailor these cars to the way they'd like to. And granted, on dirt, there's only so much you can do to a setup as well. But again, it's going to be a wild night. These drivers out of their regular element. I mean, like Falkingham said himself, I mean, we've seen what he can do on the road courses. We've seen what he can do everywhere except dirt. We just don't know what can happen there. We're going to find out next Tuesday, though.
We don't know exactly how any of these guys are going to do. We haven't seen NORC on dirt since the last truck season, I believe, and I'm quickly going through stats myself to make sure of that. The last truck season was back in 2018. It was season 9. That was the season that Femi Olot won at Texas, went on to win the championship. Also the season that Logan Clampett of William Byron Esports actually won in the series. And I got to double check. I believe that season did have dirt racing in the form of Eldora. And yes, it was. It was race number 4. I recall that one very clearly. I was in that race, and I believe I started pretty darn close up to the front, and it did not end that way. But it was a fantastic race through and through, but I believe that's the only time we've seen these guys on dirt before. And I do just want to toot my own horn a little bit, Eric. I started outside pole in that race to Tyler Ducharme. Thought that was pretty good. But point being, we have a very small sample size of these guys on dirt anywhere. We don't know what's going to happen next week. We don't have much to go off of, but it's certainly going to be a lot of fun. Let's look forward to the rest of our broadcasts within the next week. The Outlaws Sim Series tomorrow night, Martinsville Speedway, a standalone broadcast for them for the first time since much further back in the season, back at Daytona. The North American Racing League race number 6 from Suzuka Circuit. That's going to be fun. Love that race course. Can't wait to send GT3 cars around there for 50 minutes of action before Tuesday's broadcast from the Bristol Motor Speedway on dirt for NORC. That's going to be something else.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to here. The NORC race on dirt is obviously penciled in on my calendar. If you're into sports car racing and road racing, we got you covered there with the Thursday night show where JP Costas typically joined the team there for that event. And Emerson, I know the Outlaw Sim Series has been off to a bit of a banging start so far. It's been a lot of fun to catch up on those races when we wrap up some of the other broadcasting duties. You guys are in the spotlight tomorrow night, so what can we expect to see there?
Well, we're going to a short track, and granted that this series has been very, very clean this season. The most cautions we've had was 5 at Bristol Dirt. I don't know what to expect. In all honesty, at Martinsville, it was a relatively clean race last season in the playoffs as well. But we're in trucks now, these open setups. trucks, they can really, they don't get up to speed on the straight as well. These drivers not going to spread out as much, and I think there's going to be a lot of beating and banging. It's going to be a fun show tomorrow night.
I did see a little bit of that stuff in the background with what was going on with some of those drivers, and because it happened in the background of the race as a whole, I want to make sure we go back and get a look at it. This involving, of course, Cody Miller, as I mentioned, and we'll play this back in real time. He has a problem out of turn number 2. That should be coming up right about here. You can see he gets sideways, it steps out on him, hard into the outside wall, overcorrection, collects Spencer Owens and Hayes Booth, and my goodness. How was this not a caution flag? I don't know. Hayes Booth slow. The only thing I can imagine is if this was potentially the white flag lap, and it was. What do you know? Just like Indianapolis last week, Eric, a last lap incident tears things up for some drivers, and wow, just that's a lot of wow right there.
Unfortunately, I think Cody Miller was trying to wreck for the last 5 or 6 laps. I'm not sure how that car got as loose as it did there in the late stages. We had that moment, we were watching the leaders close in from his back bumper, and I thought he grenaded the motor. The car stepped out so quickly, and I didn't have an opportunity to hear the tires squealing on my end, so it was a bit of a weird optic. And then as we were filtering through, that happened a few more times. Unfortunately, it happened in front of the likes of Spencer Owens and Hayes Booth and kind of ruined their night. So I guess we're starting to set a little bit of a trend, though, there. You know, it's last lap, calamity. I think Bristol Dirt, I would expect us to go 3 for 3 on chase races, with the last laps being a little bit intense.
One thing all of these NORC drivers know is to never consider this race done, or any race done, until they are across the stripe for the checkered flag. Anything can always happen at any point in time, and certainly last lap mayhem, last lap calamity is always on the table for these guys. Make sure to follow along with us at Pit Stop TV, Facebook.com/Pit Stop TV, Twitter.com/Pit Stop TV_, Instagram and Twitch.com or .tv, obviously depending on which one works for you best, /Pit_Stop_TV, and YouTube.com/C/Pit Stop TV1. We're on technically 5 different platforms, broadcast to 4 of them, post socials to 3. Make sure to follow along. There's a lot that's always going on here at Pit Stop TV. We showed you the upcoming broadcasts and everything else you can expect. You've got to follow along with us, though, to see it. As that will do it, then, from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. So glad to have had you all along with us for the wild ride that it was, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. We're all at Pit Stop TV. Eric Brennan beside me on the mic. Trey Shuttlesworth on our social media duties. Eric, how did I skip Emerson Arden? Well, I know how. He was a late addition, but I'm so glad he was here. So Eric Brennan and Emerson Arden on the mic with me this evening. Trey Shuttlesworth on our social media coverage. And myself, Andrew Cardinale IV. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next time here at Pit Stop TV.